camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or 6. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Packers coach Matt LaFleur confirmed receiver Christian Watson will miss the rest of the season with a torn ACL. Team hopes to know more about injured quarterbacks Jordan Love and Malik Willis over the next 2 days. Green Bay at Philadelphia in Sunday's NFC wildcard game. Jaguars coming off a 4-13 season, fired coach Doug Peterson. General manager Trent Baalke will return. Jacksonville is one of 5 current head coaching jobs open, along with the Jets, Bears, Saints, and Patriots. The New England job is the most appealing, believes ESPN's Dan Orlovsky.
Because of Drake May. I think the young man's got a chance to be an absolute superstar. I think he's got the chance to be Josh Allen. They've got the #4 pick. They've got $130 million in salary cap space. I think that this is the place that is going to be, for an offensive-minded head coach, if you are one, a Ben Johnson, I think that's the place that you desire to go to.
Ben Johnson, the Lions offensive coordinator, expected to be a hot commodity this head coaching hiring cycle. Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson had a setback in his rehab from his torn Achilles tendon. It's too early at this point to tell what his status will be for the 2025 season.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy, coming up Tuesday as we head into the playoffs. Which team will land the #1 spot as my top challenger to the Chiefs? Find out at 6:30 a.m. Eastern. It's unsportsmanlike weekday mornings right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio.
Let's ride! Go!
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR. Presented by Relief Windows. I'm Matt.
Love you, Matt.
Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
Make it a Muso. Did you like that rap, Paulie? Yeah. Hit it, Toby Tom. Play. All right. We're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. Ton to do. Saints season ends. LSU portal window closes. We got draft talk. We got tons to do. Let us begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
Well, the first New Orleans Saints Sunday of 2025 ended like so many New Orleans Saints Sundays of 2024 with a loss. Here was Darren Rizzy after the Saints grabbed the throat against Tampa 27-19.
real good effort by us in the first half. Unfortunately, they kind of flipped the script on us in the second half, and some of the things that we have been deficient at appeared again. Things like third down, not finishing in the red zone, some penalties, obviously, whether they were questionable or not, they were still called, and so some of those things were obviously self-inflicted errors that cost us the game.
I will spend roughly 4 seconds on this football game because, quite honestly, the result of this football game is largely inconsequential to the bigger picture New Orleans Saints conversation, which is massively influential and consequential for the future of this organization. But this was a miserable season that was defined by injuries, the first in-season coaching change since Jim Mora in 1996, and it is mercifully over. The Saints did some good. There were 4 drives of 10 plays or more, 4 scoring drives of 10 plays or more. My buddy Chris Marler over at LouisianaSports.net told me this is the first time that's happened in a Saints game since 1992. Is that, like, Marler said it. It's got to be real, right? It's incredible. Blake Grupe was 4 for 4 on field goals. You had to get points. You kept getting points. You led by 10 at half. Spencer Rattler was efficient. He protected the football. He was 26 of 42 with a touchdown, no interceptions. You couldn't run the ball a lick, so he had to throw it more than you would have liked. But at least he protected the football. That's progress. The bad is you allowed nearly 6 yards a carry, and really the game was defined by 2 series in the second half where Jordan Howden gets the interception. You get the ball deep in Tampa territory. You set her for a field goal. Ensuing drive, they go to punt. The punter drops the ball. He just shanks a 14-yarder. Back-to-back possessions start in Tampa territory, and you got no points there. You went -7 yards and punted, and then that's when they scored on the ensuing drive, converting a 4th and 8. Baker hit McMillan on the touchdown. They took the lead and never gave it up. So the Saints season is over, and actually, there was a smidge of good in this loss because the Chicago Bears went and won a game. Chicago went up to Green Bay and they beat the Packers. They tried to give it away. They fumbled with about a minute left in the game. The Bears, as they were trying to run out the clock, the Packers hit a 55-yarder, take the lead, and then I'll be damned. Caleb Williams gets the ball. The Bears go down and they kick the game-winning field goal, and ultimately it allowed the Saints to move up a spot. So instead of drafting 10th, the Saints leapfrog the Bears and will draft 9th in this upcoming draft. So actually the loss did you some good. It kept the Falcons out of the playoffs and you moved up in the draft. So check. But what is next is actually what is most important for the New Orleans Saints. Because this is going to be the most important decision that the Saints make as an organization since 2006. And I'm not trying to wax poetic or hyperbolic here. The bottom line is the New Orleans Saints are in as bad a situation organizationally as they have been since 2006. After the 2005 season, when they went 3-13, they were a vagabond team post-Katrina. They didn't know if they had a city, a dome, a facility to come home to, and you had to go hire a coach amid that. Now, I'm not going to say this situation is as bad as that one. I mean, you literally didn't even know if the organization was returning to New Orleans. But it's the worst it's been since then. Now, some bald-headed dope told you when Sean Payton retired that, boy, you know, the reason we should celebrate the Peyton Breeze era is because for 4 decades, the Saints were a laughingstock, the worst franchise in the NFL, and the work those two did over 15 years guaranteed it would never get that bad again. And that bald-headed dope is talking to you right now. I never thought that with the stability and the foundation built over a decade and a half, it would unravel that quickly. But here we are in as bad a situation as the New Orleans Saints have seen since the day Sean Payton took over. Y'all, you want to know how bad it is? There's 5 NFL head coaching jobs open right now. The New Orleans Saints have the worst cap situation. If you don't believe me, I'll show you. For those of you who are watching, if you're listening, I'll just tell you. Here's the salary cap numbers for 2025 for every NFL team. The New Orleans Saints, you guessed it, dead last, -$78 $0.4 million. Again, so the Saints right now are $78 million over the projected cap for 2025. The next closest team, pull that back up, Paulie, please. The next closest team, the Cleveland Browns, $19 million over the cap. The New Orleans Saints are $60 million over the cap, more than the next closest team. Not only do they have the worst cap situation in the NFL, it ain't remotely close. By the way, the other jobs that are open, New England, $131 million in cap space. They're number 1. Number 6, Chicago, $81 million in cap space. They're the 6th best cap situation for next year. The other jobs that are open, Jacksonville is number 18. They've got $40 million in cap space. And then the Jets are 21st with $30 million in cap space. You're at negative $78 million. By far the worst cap situation. You don't have a franchise quarterback. The teams we just mentioned, New England, they have Drake May. And jury's out, but at least you have a guy you drafted to be your franchise quarterback. Young, talented guy. Chicago, they got Caleb Williams, number 1 pick of the draft this past year. Jacksonville has Trevor Lawrence. I understand hasn't played like it, but we've seen Trevor Lawrence be a playoff quarterback in this league. And 2 years ago, we thought that's the guy that everyone thought he would be. Now, the Jets have a murky situation with Rodgers and what may happen there. But the 3 of the 5 that are open have really good quarterback situations. And again, the Jets have $30 million in cap space, and they're drafting 4th. Where are the Jets drafting? Maybe 7th. Anyway, I think they're 4th. Anyway. So you get the worst cap situation. You got no franchise quarterback. Oh, by the way, you've got an aging roster with bad contracts. If this is depressing you, it should. But I'm just painting this picture in reality of what the Saints are. Here are your highest cap hits in order on the 2025 roster. You ready? New Orleans Saints, 2025 roster. Highest to lowest cap hits. Highest cap hit. 34-year-old Derek Carr, $51.4 million. Next highest cap hit, 31-year-old Ryan Ramczyk, whose career is likely over. He's going to cost you $29 million. Next, Cameron Jordan, 36 years old, $20 million. Next, Taysom Hill, 35 years old, $17.9 million. I'm not making this up. Eric McCoy's next, 28 years old, $15.4 million. Then Peyton Turner is next. 26 years old, $13.3 million. Of course, they're not going to exercise his 5th-year option. But then it's DeMario Davis at 36 years old, $12.4 million. Cesar Ruiz, Carl Granderson. Y'all, I'm not making this up. You have the worst cap situation in the NFL. You have no franchise quarterback, and your aging roster of overpaid aging veterans are the worst in the league. They're your highest paid players. This is an atrocious situation. And oh, by the way, you need to hire a head coach. Tell me what candidate would look at this and go, looks good. I'm in. Let's go. Every job that's open isn't just better than the New Orleans job. It's light years better. Like the Saints aren't even in the conversation. You could maybe say the Jets because of their historical lack of success and their question around quarterback, but maybe Rodgers comes back, could provide a bridge. Cap space and a top 10 draft pick. There's something there. With New Orleans, you've got none of that. You have nothing to offer except that you're a head coaching job in the NFL. But in 2006, there was an even worse situation, and you went out and you found Sean Payton. So the onus right now is on Mickey Loomis, God bless us all, to go find that person, whoever it may be. Who wants the job? I don't know. You can make a case for Aaron Glenn or Joe Brady. We've heard John Gruden. Mike Vrabel's laughable because he's very likely going to get the New England job. Again, why would a competent coach with options pick New Orleans? He wouldn't. So this is going to take some creativity of finding the right person culturally and with the football mindset that's going to come in here and understand this is not a one-year rebuild. The Saints aren't going to be they could hire Jesus Christ from on high they're not going to the playoffs next year. Your roster won't allow it. So this is going to take somebody coming in recognizing you have a years-long rebuild, and you have to have organizational patience to allow it. And we'll find out who that person is. But it's the most consequential, most significant decision that this organization will make since 2006, because this is as bad as it has been since 2006. All right, it's after further review. We're glad you're hanging out with us here. Show Open Every Day is brought to you by Bud Light. Drink easy in Louisiana with the great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of AFR, the official beer of the LSU Tigers, the official beer of the New Orleans Saints. When you're drowning away your sorrows on those black and gold Sundays, make sure you got plenty of ice cold Bud Light, but drink responsibly. Of course, the official beer of the Tigers, the official beer of the Saints, and the official beer of AFR. Big shout out to our friends at Mockler Beverage and Bud Light, the official beer of AFR. All right, quick break, y'all. Also, while we were away, LSU's portal window closed. Remember, you had 5 days after your bowl game for players to enter. A few more did, but with the portal window closed, LSU's not done. This week, the Tigers are hosting 3 more portal targets. We'll tell you about them next on AFR.
AFR.
It's a new year, and if part of your New Year's resolution is going to be to enjoy your outdoor space, you have got to get in touch with our friends at Duplessis Builders. If you want to enjoy the lifestyle that comes along with having that pool, that outdoor kitchen, if you're thinking about springtime, on this morning when we all woke up and it was 32 degrees, right now it's 39 degrees and windy, think about those beautiful spring days when you come home from work and you immediately jump into your pool. You have dinner in your outdoor kitchen, overlooking your backyard paradise. Duplessis makes that dream, that lifestyle, a reality every day for people in South Louisiana. Start at duplessisbuilders.net, duplessisbuilders.net, duplessisbuilders.net. Start that process today. You got to go through the design, the permitting, and then getting on the schedule. You want to be swimming for the spring, you start today. duplessisbuilders.net.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50
to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
after further review. Presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh yeah, they also do interior shutters.
Ross Jackson in 1 hour, LouisianaSports.net. Saints coaching search begins. Darren Rizzy met with reporters today, so I want to run through all the potential candidates. We'll do that in 1 hour from right now with Ross, from John Gruden and Aaron Glenn, and we saw the David Shaw report earlier today from Jane Slater at NFL Media, which was then refuted by Nick Underhill, Parasaur. So I have one rule when it comes to the coaching carousel season. One rule. And actually, I'll give a hat tip to my friend Ross Dellinger, who told me this. I believe this was the 2016 LSU coaching search, but I've remembered it, and I have held firm to this for almost a decade now. When it comes to a coaching search, consider everything, believe nothing. Consider everything, believe nothing. So we'll talk and sort through it all with Ross 1 hour from right now. So LSU played its bowl game on New Year's Eve, and then the portal window stayed open for 5 more days after that. It's now closed. So no more LSU players can enter the portal. The final number was 19, and now LSU looks to polish off this portal class as they move into the 2025 offseason, and how this all may look as they continue to put together the roster. Okay. What's interesting is that LSU, as it sits right now, has 14 portal additions and the number 1 portal class. But apparently they're not done. Now, on December the 21st, this was the Saturday before Christmas, at a bowl practice, Brian Kelly met with reporters and said point blank they were going to end somewhere around the 15 number. Well, they're at 14 right now. And I've told you for some time now that my information is that LSU has a couple of silent commits, one from a safety and one from an offensive lineman on teams currently playing in the college football playoff. But I have a theory. Because this week, LSU is bringing in 3 new portal targets. 2 defensive backs and a tight end. And my theory is that LSU is not going to allow themselves to be left holding the bag. Follow me here. And sometimes this is just learning lessons from the School of Hard Knocks. Look at the Bryce Underwood situation. Now, I understand that is a maybe in the legitimate sense of the word, a unique situation. I don't know that we've ever seen, quite literally, a situation like that where you had a guy that was committed for so long and then had a $12 million bag dropped on him and he left. But the problem there for LSU is you didn't have a backup plan. Shea Dixon said it here point blank too many times. Like, there was no backup plan for Bryce Underwood. There was no plan B. That was it. And so, now thankfully, you had money to spend in the transfer portal. And so you went and spent money in the transfer portal, and you got Michael Van Buren, a very competent, capable, high upside backup who's got SEC experience, who kind of fills the role of Ricky Collins to back up Garrett Nussmeier and maybe win the job in 2026. We'll see. But you didn't have a backup plan. I think of last year, whenever coming out of spring football, Brian Kelly said point blank, got to go get defensive tackle help. Got to go get defensive tackle help. And because you didn't address defensive tackle in the first portal window, because you thought you had a good chance of getting Mason Smith and Mekhi Wingo back, and said they both left and Jordan Jefferson left, and you had nobody, and then you go into the spring portal window and you are desperate. You know what I mean? Like, in spring football, that's when they moved Kimo Makanaiole to defensive tackle, just because they didn't have bodies. Like, you had Preston Hickey running significant snaps there, the transfer from Oklahoma State. Like, you were desperate for bodies. And so they went into that spring portal window and they had to go get bodies. And because they were desperate, they had no leverage in negotiating. And Dominic Williams ends up at TCU, and Simeon Barrow ends up at Miami, and LSU ends up with J.V.R. Suggs from Grand Valley State. Now, thankfully, Bo Davis did an awesome job, with the defensive line this year. And the position grouping that we all the position grouping we all know was the biggest weakness on that team ends up being a pretty solid group for LSU. Not great, but a pretty solid group for LSU. Point being, they're not going to get left holding the bag. You have 14 signees right now already in the transfer portal. And even if I'm right and my information is good and you do have these silent commits, until it's signed, sealed, delivered, done, it ain't done. We've seen it. Saw it Bryce Underwood. And LSU has got to, non-negotiable. We talk about wants, needs, musts. Whatever is 10x beyond a must, that's where LSU is at safety. We've gone through all the Pro Football Focus numbers, but you don't need high-level Pro Football Focus numbers. All you got to do is eyeballs. LSU's safety play this year was awful. It was the worst position group on the team. Major Burns, Jordan Gilbert were your two lowest-graded players throughout the course of the season among your defensive starters. And then Sage Ryan was a good starter for you, but nobody would look at his play and say, yep, that's an all-conference caliber player, not even close to it. So you look at LSU, you've got Jordan Gilbert coming back, hopefully gets his shoulder right and he plays at a higher level. You got Deshaun Spears coming. You went into the portal already, and you got Mansour Delane from Virginia Tech, but he's a cornerback who can play safety. The point is, you got to go get safety help. And even if you do, and I hope you do, have a silent commit at safety that they add. And even if whoever that player is comes, great. But what if they don't? You got to have a plan B, plan C, plan D. Like, you have got to have a backup plan to build depth so you don't end up in a lurch like you did last year. So look at what LSU is doing right now. This week, they're bringing in two defensive backs. One is Keontae Scott from Auburn. Now, Keontae Scott is a really interesting one because he is a guy that spent 2 years in the junior college level and was a 2-year JUCO All-American. Goes to Auburn in 2022. Now, he's been a 3-year starter at Auburn. In 2022, has 54 tackles as a nickelback. 2023 ends up with 44 tackles, also led the SEC in punt return average. And then this year plays a very versatile role defensively for Auburn. So it played all over the defensive secondary. When I look at his snap counts on the season for Keontae Scott, he played 299 defensive snaps. He played 129 of them at wide corner, but he played 71 in the slot. He played 21 in the box. He played 17 at free safety. You understand my point? This is a guy that moved all over the defensive secondary. He's got cover skills because he's played wide corner, but he's probably better in the box or at safety. So this is a veteran dude, 1 year of eligibility remaining because of the Diego Pavia rule. A guy that was 2 years at JUCO, 3 years at Auburn, but now has one extra year because of Pavia and could well come in and play anywhere in that defensive secondary for you, which would be a massive addition of a veteran dude who could be really impactful for you. The other who's coming to visit is Tamarcus Cooley. Now, Tamarcus Cooley is a guy that was a 3-star, was lightly regarded coming out of high school, and he signed with Maryland. So he goes to Maryland and ends up redshirting. Plays in, I believe, 1 game his freshman season at Maryland. 2 games. So he plays in 2 games at Maryland as a freshman. After 23, transfers to NC State for 2024. And this year at NC State in 2024, ends up playing in every game, has 39 tackles, but ended up playing all over the field. He played 738 defensive snaps this season. Tamarcus Cooley did. 738 defensive snaps. Let me put that into context for you, okay? just by looking at LSU's defensive players this year, there were 2 players defensively, 2 all season, that played over 700 defensive snaps for LSU. 2 all year. Whit Weeks and Ashton Stamps. That's it. 2 defensive players for LSU that played 700 snaps. That was all. This guy played over 700 snaps as a redshirt freshman at NC State. On top of that, look at his Pro Football Focus grades. And like we always talk about, Pro Football Focus grades aren't the metric. They're a metric to consider, just something to consider. But Tamarcus Cooley, remember, as we talk about PFF grades, it's on a 0 to 100 scale, and it's kind of color-coded. So it's like red is awful, like blue is the best. And it goes from like red to orange to yellow to light green to dark green to light blue to dark blue, right? To the better. If you're in the 70s, you're a really, really good starter. 80s, you're elite. 90s is unheard of. Like Garrett Nussmeier in the bowl game was an 89, the highest graded player for LSU. Tamarcus Cooley, his total defensive grade this year at NC State was an 80.8. Run defense, 81.6. His tackling grade was a 75.4. His pass rushing grade was a 69.5. And his coverage grade was an 81.8. So of the 5 grades, 3 were in the 80s, 1 was a 75, and 1 was a 69.5, which was his lowest. To put that into context, I'll point out Major Burns. And I'm not picking on Major Burns. I'm just giving you an illustration. So remember, you don't have to like memorize like all of those numbers. I'm just giving you sort of an illustration here. So remember, Tamarcus Cooley, 5 grades, 3 of them in the 80s, 1 in the 70s, 1 in the 60s. So Major Burns this season for LSU. Of course, I'm trying to find it. I lost my spot. That's what I get for maybe trying to pick on Major Burns. And now this thing isn't going to load. I apologize. Of course, now it's not going to load. Hang on 1 second. Let me get this to load. All right, I don't know why it's not loading. My apologies. Anyway, all of Major Burns' grades this year were in the 50s. He had 1 grade above that were in the 70s, and it was his pass rushing grade. So he's actually a very good pass rusher for LSU, but his overall defensive grade was not very good. Actually, here it is. I found it. So Major Burns on the season, his total defense grade was a 57.6. His run defense grade was a 53.7. His tackling grade was a 54.4. His coverage grade was a 55.6. And then his pass rush grade was an 84.1. So he's exceptional at rushing the passer. Everything else, he was in the 50s, which is bad. So you're talking about a guy with 3 years of eligibility remaining who outperformed your 5th-year player this year. Another reason to like someone like Cooley is future depth. Even if you bring him in and he doesn't win a starting job in 2025, okay, he's got 3 years of eligibility remaining. Remember, in the last 2 portal classes, you have lost a half dozen defensive backs. Bernard Causey's gone, Michael Dartery's gone, Jeremiah Hughes is gone, Kylan Jackson's gone, Ryan Yates is gone, and then Juwan Johnson's playing running back. So you've lost a half dozen players in your last 2 signing classes that are in the secondary. So your young depth in the secondary is gone. Here's an opportunity to go get a guy who maybe factors in as a starter in 2025, but even if he doesn't, after that, he's got 2 more years of eligibility to help supplement for the future so you're not in as dire a situation next year. Just something to file away with those 2 guys. Keontae Scott, veteran dude, 1 year remaining, 3-year starter in the SEC. Tamarcus Cooley, very productive starter at NC State this season for the Wolfpack with 3 years of eligibility remaining. And then the other player that is going to visit LSU this week, it's a little bit of an odd one, but it's Donovan Green, who's a former Texas A&M tight end. And Green's interesting because he goes to A&M as a freshman and has a very productive freshman season. And then after that, he suffers an ACL injury, redshirts in his second season in 2023. And then in 2024, this season, he played really a reserve role for the Aggies. So you're talking about a guy who started his career very productive and then the last 2 years has waned, but has 2 more years of eligibility, and potentially 3 if he gets a medical. This is another one where I go, immediately it doesn't make sense. You went and got Bauer Sharp out of the transfer portal. He's a plug-and-play starter. We all are very impressed by what Trey'Dez Green did in the bowl game. So you've got those 2 tight ends, and then you sign J.D. LaFleur. So that's 3 scholarship tight ends you have. I don't know if Donovan Green would step in and be an immediate impact guy for you because you're bringing in Bauer Sharp to be that with 1 season of eligibility remaining. And then Trey'Dez Green obviously is going to have a big role next year. But similar to Tamarcus Cooley, could someone like Donovan Green be a young depth piece? Because remember, you lost 4 guys out of your recruiting class from 2 years ago. The 4 tight ends you signed 2 classes ago, they're all gone. So you need that young depth. So next year, after Bauer Sharp is gone, you're not starting over again with young guys or having to go back into the portal to get a veteran guy. You can have a guy that's already been on your roster. I think that's the theory. That's the thinking with where they are right now with this portal class. So 3 guys visiting LSU this week. I'm not telling you they're going to get them all. I'm not telling you they're going to get any of them. But I think I can understand what Austin Thomas, Brian Kelly, Frank Wilson are thinking as they're considering and continuing to consider players in this transfer portal class. All right, it's After Further Review. We're brought to you by Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Gentlemen, if you didn't get her what she wants on Christmas, shame on you. Should have gone to Lee Michaels. LMFJ.com, LMFJ.com. Y'all, you will never find a man-made or lab diamond in the case at Lee Michaels, ever. This isn't a science experiment. It's an expression of your love for her. So if you're going to buy a diamond, that forever diamond, go to Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry because you will only find the highest quality diamonds from the finest diamond mines in the world. Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. 9 locations in all. Big enough with 9 locations to give you the selection you'd find at a big store, but small enough to where you're going to get the personalized service and uniqueness of the boutiques. It's Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. LMFJ.com, LMFJ.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Okay, y'all, it's After Further Review. Monday show is brought to you by Relief Windows. Let me knock out a quick break. We'll come back, go around the SEC. LSU's season opening opponent has fired their defensive coordinator. We'll talk about that coming up here. And Ross Jackson, in about 45 minutes, will go through the Saints' coaching search candidates, at least those that appear to be on the early short list. That's all coming up. We're glad you're here. It's AFR.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by Clegg's Nursery with 4 locations in the greater Baton Rouge area. Siega near Airline, LA 16 in Denham, Mid-City on Donmore, and the Garden Center on Greenwell Springs. Buy local, shop local over at Clegg's Nursery. Holidays are behind us, y'all, but if you didn't get what you want, go get it yourself at Clegg's Nursery. Get by any of the 4 locations. Citrus trees galore. It is an awesome time, y'all, an awesome time with all this cooler weather to plant a citrus tree. And there are these winter bedding plants and flowers that love the cooler weather. It's a great time to get in the garden and just plant something over at Clegg's Nursery. You want to add that pop of color. Don't forget, they have got just acreage behind their stores, especially the Siega Lane store, the Denham store, the Garden Center on Greenwell Springs, behind the store with just rows and fields of selection where you will find whatever it is you are looking for. It's Clegg's Nursery. Buy local, shop local. Tell them Matt sent you in to Clegg's Nursery.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh yeah, they also do interior shutters.
Yeah, Ross Jackson will be here in, what am I talking about, 35 minutes from right now. There is a little bit of news here from Ross. The Saints have formally requested an interview with Bills offensive coordinator Joe Brady. So Brady has been one of the, that shouldn't be a great surprise, but Brady has been one of the guys that has been rumored to be at or near the top of the Saints list. As a matter of fact, all the odds makers who put out those faux odds have Brady as the odds-on favorite to become the Saints head coach. Well, this is part of the process. You got to formally request the interview, and the Saints have done that. Again, we'll talk about all this with Ross in about 30 minutes from right now. All right, glad you're hanging out with us here. A lot of people like to just, especially when the Tigers aren't playing great, just sort of leapfrog football season right into baseball season. What are we, 39 days, Muse? Is that right, 39?
That's correct, 39.
39 days
39
away.
39 days.
When's Muso at the box return?
We're working on that. It's coming back this month. It'll coincide mainly when they get back on the field.
Well, this month could be tomorrow. It could be 3 weeks from now.
It will coincide when they hit the field again, which is normally the middle of...
Don't get all mad at me.
I'm not getting mad at you.
It sounds like you're a little testy in your tone. Paul, was he testy in his tone?
Just a little bit, yeah.
All right, well, anyway.
New year, same AFR.
Yeah. Expect anything different?
No. It's been 15 years. Why would it be any different at this point?
There you go. Hey, dance with what brung you, you know?
What?
That's a thing. That is absolutely a saying.
What did you say?
Dance with what brung you, right? Dance with what brought you. That's a thing. That's a saying.
It's not dance with what brung you.
Okay.
That's not the saying.
Well, dance with what brought you.
No.
Now I am getting
Not
testy.
what? Nope.
Okay. Then what is it, Matt?
Why don't you look it up, Muse?
No, I don't care enough to look it up.
Well, you should. Dance with what brung you.
The point got across. People understood what I was trying to say.
That doesn't actually apply here. It's almost like the when in Rome moment from Anchorman. That's what just happened. I don't really know what it means. Yeah. That doesn't really apply here. All right, so Muso at the box?
Yeah, most likely the middle of the month. That's normally they hit the field about 4 weeks before, so that would be the middle of January.
So are we, for those who don't know, Muse also does LSU Daily, so podcast, YouTube. Are we YouTube yet, or are we getting there?
We're getting there. So I got the
good. So 2026 we'll have.
No, I got the the overlay. The overlay for LSU Daily. We have to fix the one for Musso at the box, but I did get the one.
So is LSU Daily going to be on the same channel?
I'm going to combine the channels.
Love that.
And break them into playlists.
It's a good decision.
Right. So like if you're looking for Musso at the box, it's still going to be on that channel. Like it's not going away. They're both going to exist as their own entity. And there will be baseball on LSU Daily as well.
That's a very good decision. All right, so go follow Musso there at Musso at the box. But here we do refer to him as Miuso because if that's what Skip Bertman calls him, that's what.
Yeah, and
that's what I'm going to call him.
I'm okay with that.
I don't care what it's like. Call dance with what brung you.
There you go.
Normally I go with it. That's what his mama calls him. That's what I call him.
Yeah.
But I think your mama probably calls you Matthew Musso.
Correct.
So in this instance, I'm going to defer not to your mom. Marilyn Monroe Musso.
It's not her middle name.
I'm going to defer to the GOAT. Skipper. A Slip Bertram.
Slip.
Mickey Mantle called him Slip Bertram. That's a great story. If you've never heard the Slip Bertram story, find video somewhere of Skip telling the Slip Bertram story, and you will be glad you did. Okay, it is after further review. All of that because Perfect Game released their preseason rankings today. LSU number 2 behind Texas A&M. Preseason number 1 team in America. The Aggies lost the championship series last year to Tennessee. PG, anyway, thinks that they'll be back in the mix. But the Tigers with the number 1 portal class, certainly the arms to get back there. Looking forward to baseball. And obviously when LSU basketball goes and falls on their face at home against Vanderbilt in the SEC opener, there's not a lot of excitement right now for LSU basketball. I can understand that. People are sort of leapfrogging to baseball as often happens here. Hopefully the basketball team can surprise us and win a few here or there. They got to go beat Missouri tomorrow. All right, it's after further review. We're glad you're with us. We're brought to you by our friends over at First South Farm Credit, firstsouthland.com, firstsouthland.com. If you are thinking of buying land, your first call should be to First South Farm Credit. 2025 is here. Maybe in 2025 you're looking for that great tax incentive. Buying land as an investment property could be a great solution for you. Talk to your CPA about that. FirstSouthLand.com. It doesn't matter if you're buying timber property as an investment, if you're buying it to build your family's dream home. Maybe with hunting season, you're tired of sharing that lease with your buddies. Don't do that anymore. You want to own your own piece of property? First South Farm Credit can make it happen. Go to firstsouthland.com. Firstsouthland.com. Okay, let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference. The Georgia Bulldogs.
USC transfers Zachariah and Zion Branch have both committed to Georgia. Zachariah kind of is the real game changer. He's the one that was one of the top players in the portal, former 5-star receiver, caught 47 passes this year. Zion is a defensive back, played in 10 games for the Trojans this year. Zion was a 4-star, the number 7 safety in the country. Zachariah was the 5-star receiver.
The Alabama Crimson Tide.
Damani Jackson the cornerback announced he will return to Alabama for the 2025 season. I think the reason he felt the need to announce that he was returning, the former 5-star did, is because basically everybody else is leaving Alabama. So what is actually newsworthy is when someone is staying. Oh, they are burning, friends. 6'1", was a 5-star recruit in the 2022 cycle, was the number 5 overall recruit in the class. He was part of the 2024 transfer class after spending his first 2 years at USC, played this season at Alabama where he started 12 games, but will return to Alabama next year.
The Oklahoma Sooners.
Oklahoma added a major defensive piece with Oklahoma State linebacker Kendall Daniels. Daniels moved from safety to linebacker this season, finished with 64 tackles. He was the Big 12's Defensive Freshman of the Year. Now he's leaving Stillwater and headed to Norman. He'll have 1 year of eligibility remaining.
The Auburn Tigers.
Sam Houston State transfer defensive lineman Chris Murray. Why not? Every time we can dust off the Murray present, let's say we do it. He's committed to Auburn. Spent the last 3 seasons with the Bearcats, 1 year of eligibility remaining. He was first-team All-Conference USA last year.
The Vanderbilt Commodores.
And Vandy safety Marlon Sewell has withdrawn from the transfer portal. Sua played 4 seasons with the Commodores. Didn't really crack the rotation until this year. His junior season had 49 tackles. Former 3-star recruit. He'll return to Vandy for his final season. All right, there you have it. That is Around the SEC. Glad to have you hanging out with us here. Monday shows, as always, brought to you by Relief Windows, Windows Doors Siding, Relief Windows, and ReliefWindows.com. We will talk to Ross Jackson in 30 minutes from right now. Also, next hour, Brad Crawford from 24/7 Sports will be here. Brad Crawford put out his transfer portal class rankings or big winners. I'll give away the punchline here. He has LSU as the big winner, but he also put out a 2025 college football playoff mock projection, and he thinks very highly of LSU. So we'll ask him about that coming up here in the next hour. Glad you're hanging out. Let's knock out our final break here of hour number 1. It's
AFR.
As we kick off a new year, we welcome a new partner here to After Further Review. It's our friends over at Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Gotten to know my friends over at Goodwood here over the past several months. They're sort of there's 2 businesses there. There's Goodwood and there's Unique Physique. We love telling you about Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. It doesn't matter if you're talking about ED or if it's hormone replacement therapy. This is about allowing you and empowering you to live and look and feel your vibrant best. If you're struggling with ED or think you might have hormone issues, low testosterone, you didn't do anything wrong. I'm here to tell you. I've told you my journey for a while now. After we spent 9 months in the hospital with Drew, stress ages people, and stress can be an accelerator. Go get that testosterone test. Find out if you're a candidate. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh yeah, they also do interior shutters.
We were here on Friday, so this is actually our second show of 2025. Greg Lehman on the text line said, have we had a Musso weed joke yet in 2025? Have we yet?
I don't think so. I don't think we had one Friday.
I'm surprised you were so quick on the response, Muse. Oh, wait, it's not 420 yet.
There you go, Greg.
There it is, Greg.
There you go, Greg. You got one there.
Can I get it right? Slide that in right there. Another thing that sometimes happens when you've been away for 2 weeks is you completely forget to look at the clock. And so,
yeah,
we went very long on the transfer portal segment and just didn't adjust appropriately during the Around the SEC segment. So I got like 90 seconds. So let me do this very quickly if I could. When LSU goes to Clemson to open up the 2025 season, Clemson will have a new defensive coordinator. They fired Wes Goodwin. Very quick backstory. Wes Goodwin was a GA at Clemson. He went and worked for Clemson, went and worked in the NFL under Bruce Arians, actually with the Bucs for a while. Went back to Clemson where he was on staff as an analyst. And then when Brent Venables left to become the Oklahoma head coach, Goodwin was promoted to defensive coordinator where he's been the last 3 years. Well, Clemson's defense was not very good this year. They were worst against the run in the ACC. And so now he's been fired. There's some thought that Goodwin is going to end up at Oklahoma with Brent Venables, who fired his defensive coordinator, go figure. So may end up in the SEC. We'll see. But what's of greatest import for LSU is you're opening the 2025 season at Clemson. You are desperate to win a season opener because you've lost every one since the COVID year in 2020 when you lost that game to Mississippi State. And we're going to spend this offseason following significant moves that Clemson makes because that is going to impact LSU in 2025. So as this Clemson defensive coordinator search goes on, we'll follow it. We'll let you know how it goes. But Clemson will have a new defensive coordinator when LSU takes on Clemson up in Clemson to start the 2025 season. Okay. SportsCenter coming up. We get you caught up on national headlines. NFL draft order is set. We'll get to it next.
AFR.
Brought to you by Evermore. Your New Year's resolution is to be healthier, to make healthier decisions, to lead a healthier lifestyle, then my goodness, you better make Evermore part of your 2025. It's delicious. It's refreshing. It tastes great. Evermore is a healthier alternative. This is natural artesian water. I challenge you. I've said this for years. And by the way, I love how so many of you, when you drink Evermore, you'll take a picture, you'll send me a tweet, you'll send me a message on the text line, send me a Facebook message, you'll post something like that, tag me in it. I love that. The people at Evermore love it as well, so thank you. But the bottom line is this is a Louisiana product with national distribution, and it's a healthy, natural product. I would challenge you to pick up the bottle of water that you normally buy and read the label. See how many things are added or taken away from that water. This is an all-natural product. It's a healthier product. Drink Evermore.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Brack, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
When it comes to choosing energy for your family and your home, make the smart choice with natural gas. You can count on efficient and affordable natural gas to keep you comfortable and reduce your environmental impact to help protect our planet. Together, we're fueling our energy future. Atmos Energy.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. The Bears have asked for permission to interview Cowboys coach Mike McCarthy for their head coaching job. They're awaiting a response from Dallas. McCarthy's contract with the Cowboys expires Wednesday. Chicago should have one main priority when finding its next head coach, suggests ESPN's Ryan Clark.
The big thing for the Chicago Bears is how does whomever is the head coach communicate and relate to Caleb Williams. And I'm not saying what you do from a play calling standpoint. How do you put him in the most comfortable position possible?
The Bears have also reportedly asked to interview Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, Steelers offensive coordinator Arthur Smith, and Vikings defensive coordinator Brian Flores. Packers coach Matt LaFleur confirmed receiver Christian Watson will miss the rest of this season with a torn ACL. Green Bay at Philadelphia for Sunday's NFC wildcard game. Jags owner Shad Khan said he made the decision to only fire coach Doug Peterson but keep GM Trent Baalke was in large part due because he felt Jacksonville was the most predictable team in the NFL. Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson suffered a setback in his torn Achilles tendon rehab.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy, coming up Tuesday as we head into the playoffs. Which team will land the #1 spot as my top challenger to the Chiefs? Find out at 6:30 a.m. Eastern. It's unsportsmanlike weekday mornings right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio.
That's right!
Hour 2, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, presented by Relief Windows. I'm Matt.
You're a loser, man!
Hey, shut up, kid. But Happy New Year to you and your family. Blessings upon you all. Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
And Mr. Toby Tomplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. Brad Crawford of 24/7 Sports, bottom of this hour. He loves what LSU has done in this portal class. We'll talk to him. Ross Jackson in 15 minutes. As a matter of fact, there at the end of last hour, we told you that the Saints have formally requested an interview with Bills OC Joe Brady. This also from Ross Jackson. The Saints have formally requested an interview with Eagles offensive coordinator Kellen Moore. All this information, by the way, is free. Always everything free at LouisianaSports.net. Would highly recommend you bookmark it. Well, the portal news with all the Saints coaching search stuff, great time to go discover LouisianaSports.net if you've not done so yet. Again, no paywalls, no article limits, no freemium. It's all free, always. No subscriptions. Everything's free, always. Go check it out there, LouisianaSports.net. Ross is doing a great job. He'll be with us in 12 minutes. So we'll talk about all this. We'll talk about Joe Brady. We'll talk about Kellen Moore. We'll talk about Aaron Glenn, John Gruden, Mike Vrabel, all the names that we've heard bandied about in connection with the Saints potentially. David Shaw is another one that was surprising for a lot of people to hear that name today. Hasn't coached the last 2 years after his decade-plus run at Stanford. And some conflicting reports. Jane Slater reported that the Saints wanted to interview Shaw. Nick Underhill came back and refuted that report, saying the Saints were not going to request an interview with Shaw. We'll talk about all that with Ross coming up here shortly. What did I have? One other. Darren Rizzy. That's of course. So Darren Rizzy met with reporters on Monday, and he was asked about had he talked with Mickey Loomis and Gail Benson about the job, and he said he did. Here you go.
I spoke to Mickey quickly this morning. Again, they have the organization has to go through the NFL interview process. Obviously, have to have a number of candidates that they're going to interview. I'm going to interview as well. That date hasn't been set in stone just yet, but probably sometime next week. I'll get a chance to kind of take a step back here for a couple of days and reflect on everything and kind of reassess and some of the things that we would change moving forward and pros and cons of what went on here the last 9 weeks. And so I didn't get a chance to speak with Mrs. B just yet, but Mrs. B's been phenomenal. We've communicated very often here over the last couple of months, and I'm sure I'll meet with her either today or tomorrow.
Boy, I kind of feel for Darren Rizzy. On one hand, it was an awesome opportunity. I mean, he got a 9-week opportunity to be a head coach. 8 games. This wasn't a small sample size. It was a great opportunity. This wasn't like 3 games at the end of the year where it's a one-off. But the opportunity he got was just marred by injury. I mean, this was a team that saw Spencer Rattler start 6 games. I mean, it's really hard to get a good gauge on what it was like, could have been when you're starting Spencer Rattler and you don't have your top 2 receivers and you have this mishmash of an offensive line and there's no Taysom Hill and Alvin Kamara misses the end of the season. I mean, it's not anything you don't know. I mean, it's all stuff we've talked about with respect to the Saints all season. I mean, since Eric McCoy went down in week 3 and this chain reaction of starters and these miserable events that all took place. But it's the hand you're dealt. So, I mean, might it be different for Darren Rizzy if he had a healthy roster during his 9-week, 8-game interim stint? Maybe, certainly. It's plausible to think it would be different. But the reality is just what it is. And I don't think Darren Rizzy is going to get the job. But whoever is the coach is going to have a top 10 draft pick. And this will be the first time that the New Orleans Saints will have drafted in the top 10 since 2008. Remember, that's when they went up to number 7 to draft Cedric Ellis. A lot of people thought maybe if you're going to trade up, why not trade up to go get Glenn Dorsey? But instead they took Cedric Ellis. I've been asked a lot, what the Saints should do. And listen, we've got a lot of time between now and April. We've got 4 months, right, to talk about the draft and what's going to happen. The free agent window will come, and the Saints have just a ton of work to do to get their cap situation in order before the league year begins. But this is one of those years where I legitimately don't care what position they draft. And people said, hey, Matt, who do you want the Saints to pick? And almost out of obligation, I'll throw out a name. And we'll learn much more as we go through Senior Bowl and the Combine and workouts and all that sort of stuff. Like, I'll throw out a name because I don't want to be the guy who's like, I don't care. So the name I keep throwing out is Brandon Graham. If he's available and, we're talking about a Mason Graham, I'm sorry. The defensive lineman from Michigan. Get his name right, kid. Anyway, like, if he's available, I think that would be awesome, because I think a major part of the Saints' defensive issues this year was your inability to stop the run. When Dennis Allen's defense was great, it's when the Saints went on this 5-year run of not allowing a 100-yard rusher. They were so good at stopping the run. I mean, they lost that game to Tampa, allowing 5.8 yards a carry. They allowed 270 on the ground at Tampa earlier this year. They're just not good. And I think when you can't stop the run, it makes you more vulnerable on the back end. So that would be my pick. I would like to see you take a dominant interior defensive tackle. You pair that person with Darren Rizzy, I think you're cooking with something there. But quite literally, this is an illustration of how bad this roster is right now. I mean, your offensive line was atrocious this year. I mean, Eric McCoy, when he's healthy, is a very good player. And I think you've hit on Taliesin Fuaga as a starter. Does he stay at left? Does he move to right? I don't know. I mean, certainly he acquitted himself very well at left tackle this year. And maybe Trevor Penning proved this year he can at least play for you. He's not a complete bust. But you need help at both guard spots. Ruiz, even if he's back, you still need help at left guard. So you need at least one starting offensive lineman. Alvin Kamara's old. Kendre Miller, do we label him bust at this point? Maybe. You're in desperate need of help at wide receiver. You do not have a legit, even with a healthy Chris Olave, he's not a number one. Not in the way Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and Brian Thomas, look around the league, are number ones. A.J. Brown, you don't have that guy. Obviously need a quarterback. You traded Marshawn Lattimore. What do you do with Paulson Adebo? Don't know. I mean, you need help at corner. Tyron's old at safety, and you don't have another safety, respect to Will Harris. But he's not a starting safety in the NFL. Linebacker, I mean, Demario Davis might play at least 56 and still be awesome. And you got Pete Werner there as well, so maybe that's not as big a need as the other positions. But the point is, I could go at literally defensive end. You're one of the worst in the NFL this year at rushing the passer. I think Trey Hendrickson had half as many sacks as the entire New Orleans Saints team. It's insane. You are bad everywhere. You need help everywhere. So the Saints draft 9th. I mean, I saw this mock draft over at CBS that has the Saints taking Michael Williams, the edge from Georgia. I'd be pumped. I know they've not had great success drafting edge rushers in round 1, but this ain't a small school guy who they're betting on the upside because they like his relative athletic score. This is a dude who's an immediate day one impact coming off the edge. I've seen Malachi Starks, safety from Georgia. I've seen McMillan, the receiver from Arizona. There's so many ways you can go, and I'd probably be okay with any of it because you're that bad at every spot that I would legit be thrilled with getting an impact guy at any spot. You just got to draft a guy that's not a project, a guy that comes in day one as an impact guy for you. First time Saints were drafted in the top 10. Almost 20 years. Oh my God. It's as bad as it's been in a long time, y'all. It's a very uncomfortable feeling, considering how comfortable we had gotten with the Saints being relevant for so long. All right, we got a ton of LSU portal stuff we'll still get into today. But when we come back, Ross Jackson from LouisianaSports.net is going to jump aboard with us. There's been so much Saints coaching search. Listen, the season's over. All of the conversation now pivots to who are they going to hire. So we'll run through what we know right now with Ross Jackson when we return. It's AFR.
After further review.
We're brought to you by the Watermark Hotel and the Renaissance Hotel, Watermark Downtown, Renaissance Southtown. Shout out to the Watermark Hotel. It's mentioned this to you last week, but our operations manager here, Michelle Southern, who's also the Afternoon Drive host on Eagle 98.1, is awesome. Michelle and her husband Daniel spent New Year's Eve out downtown at the Queen Casino and then stayed at the Watermark. David, my buddy over at the Watermark, rolled out the red carpet, treated him great, but that's true for quite literally everybody that goes to the Watermark, because you feel like royalty. You feel like a VIP when you stay at the Watermark Hotel. The Watermark is Baton Rouge's premier hotel property. It is voted by you the best hotel in the best of 225. It is the finest premium hotel in Baton Rouge. The river views are exquisite. If you go stay at the Watermark or have the opportunity to go to one of the high floors, the expansive panoramic river views are incredible. One place only. It's the Watermark Hotel.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh yeah, they also do interior shutters.
And you thought the season was over. Ha! Saints season did end, but silly season is just beginning now as the Saints embark on a coaching search for the second time in 3 years now. Dennis Allen out. Darren Rizzy will interview for the job, but my goodness, the reports are flying fast and furious on this Black Monday around the NFL. Ross Jackson, LouisianaSports.net. He's our Saints guy. He's been all over it today. He joins us now. How are you, man?
Hey, buddy. Doing great. Yeah, it's a whole other season all of a sudden.
Man. And I seem like every time I refresh Twitter or the website or our LouisianaSports.net text chain, you've got another name. I think, let me start with a big picture question, then we'll go into some nuance about each candidate. What can you tell us about the process as a whole, as far as how this is likely to play out over the next days, weeks, et cetera?
Yeah, so what I would expect is, and the first thing that I'll say is that do not expect a head coach to be named very quickly. And that's just not really just a New Orleans Saints thing. That's going to kind of be around the NFL. There's a couple of different dominoes that you're looking at falling, and there's only so much you can do in terms of the NFL schedule in terms of when it allows you to interview coordinators or people that are already on working with other teams that are in the playoffs. And of course, those are going to be amongst the most desirable names because, well, they're in the playoffs and they're with good teams and they're good coordinators. And so that's typically the way this is going to work out. So what you should expect is to continue to see these requests for interviews over the course of the next few days, throughout this week, next week, getting into the 13th of the month. You can do some virtual interviews with guys that are coaching in those playoffs. And then after that, it's going to kind of go radio silent in terms of some of those guys up until the 19th and until those teams are eliminated. So there's going to be a little bit of a gap of a week in the midst of all that. I would also expect...
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I thought you were done.
Yep. I would also expect that when it comes to Darren Rizzy, who will be an internal candidate, that very likely they'll have an interview with him over the course of the next week. Another guy, Mike Vrabel, who can be who could be interviewed immediately, but that you're still looking at them, the Saints, spending this next week, reevaluating the team, evaluating their staff, and figuring things out. Darren Rizzy will still be a part of that. That's going to be a key cog in the wheel in terms of the mechanism of hiring this next head coach, is to understand where they are and what things need to change. And so that will be a part of that timeline as well, is that evaluation period over the course of this week.
So I guess just to clear the deck, do we think there's any chance that Darren Rizzy gets the job?
I would certainly say that there's a chance. I don't know how likely it is. I don't know that he would necessarily be entering as the favorite. But if you look at the jobs that are available, and some of the guys that we already know are amongst the top of the list for New Orleans, Mike Vrabel feels like a really good fit for a team like the New England Patriots, who kind of surprised everybody by opening up a head coaching search this weekend. A guy like Aaron Glenn, who's way on top of the list for New Orleans, we're sure is a guy that could also be looking at that New York Jets job as a guy that was drafted by the New York Jets, number 12 overall, as he came into the league. And so if you start to see some of those top candidates go away, then all of a sudden, like, Darren Rizzy just keeps moving up the list. And I'll be honest, I don't think that you have to go very far down the list to find Darren Rizzy's name in the first place. And so I don't think that it would take that many coordinators, former coordinators, or former head coaches to get hired away elsewhere in order for Darren Rizzy to reach the top of that list. So I wouldn't close the door on that just yet. Especially if the Saints are going to kind of incrementally rebuild this team over the course of the next few years, where they could probably enter the coaching search again in a couple years if they needed to, or find success with him. He's a guy that they could feel comfortable with. So I wouldn't rule him out, but I think that there are still going to be some names up above.
Ross, there's 5 jobs open. When you look at salary cap, quarterback situation, cap situation, roster situation, it's not even debatable. The Saints is the worst job open. Like, we don't need to go, like, we can universally agree that of the 5, this is the 5th. Make the case for why the Saints, even though it's the 5th of the 5, make the case for why this would be appealing for a candidate.
Yeah, it's all relative, right? You can be the 5th of 5 championship winners and still be a championship winner. So yes. It is a relative thing. So I think that when you look at New Orleans, one of the big things is patience, and I think that you're going to find that New Orleans Saints, to a fault, have shown that they will be patient, and so I think that that's something that operates pretty well for guys that are entering this head coaching search who are either first-time head coaches or coaches that couldn't make it happen somewhere else, which is going to be about 100% of the coaches that they interview. It's going to be one of those 2 categories. That's what happens during these coaching searches. And so I think that the patience of the organization and the fact that their salary cap is kind of in the situation that it's in, $63 million over going into next year, that you're basically going to get a built-in free year to where, you're looking at that as a part of what you're doing, not where you could end up in a New England Patriots, Gerard Mayo type situation to where you get 1 year and then you're done. So I think that that's one of the biggest selling points. I think the other biggest selling point is, and I know that a lot of fans aren't going to like hearing this, but the New Orleans Saints have stable ownership. They have a stable general manager. Now, is that general manager going to make the right decisions? He is going to be evaluated over the course of this offseason as well. It's one of the reasons why he's going to be a big part and outside of his job description, be a guy that's going to be at the top of the list in terms of this coaching search, is because he gets evaluated in the midst of all this as well. But look, the Saints aren't in a situation where they have a bunch of turmoil and turnover and things like that, like other franchises. Young coaches that couldn't make it work elsewhere, they want to see that. They want to be a part of that. And I think the last thing is, this is a team that's looking to rebuild and that is looking to overhaul over the course of the next few years, no matter how much they tell you that they're not. That's the goal, is to get better. And in order to do that, you're going to be making personnel decisions. So you have a real opportunity here as a new head coach coming into this situation where you have good salary cap outlook in the future within the next couple of years And so then you're looking at the opportunity to be able to rebuild this franchise rebuild this team exactly the way that you want to see it rebuilt.
I just saw this too. Josina Anderson, it's funny how quickly this goes, Ross.
Yep.
I was just going to ask you about like the candidates that the Saints have requested. Like you've already reported Joe Brady, Kellen Moore. Well, Josina Anderson just tweeted the Saints have requested permission for Giants assistant head coach and offensive coordinator Mike Kafka. So by the way, as soon as we're done, you can go write that one.
I'm on it.
I'm sure you are. Actually, we should hang up now so you can go write it for Louisiana Sports. But let's go through the candidates that we know the Saints have or have reportedly requested. So let's start with Joe Brady and Kellen Moore. Maybe just tell me your reaction, why you think it might make sense.
Yeah, those are guys that fit the trend of the NFL, which is to go and hire the big, young, bright offensive minds. Joe Brady, of course, was with the team before 2017, 2018, as an offensive assistant before, of course, heading over to LSU and winning a national championship there in 2019. And he has sort of the offensive wonder kid type of a label. And, of course, has seen a lot of success with the Buffalo Bills. So I think that he's the guy that could make sense for New Orleans. Kellen Moore is an interesting one because he shows the team going away from its kind of comfort zone. He's not really anybody that's been super connected with New Orleans outside of Derek Foster, their running backs coach. They were together last year with the Los Angeles Chargers. Or in recent years with Los Angeles Chargers. But same thing, right? 36-year-old guy, young wonder kid type, has worked with some great quarterbacks, all that. I think those are two guys that just kind of fit the trend of what the NFL is looking for in those young offensive minds.
Do you have any thought on Kafka? I know that's brand new, but any thought there?
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy whose name has been around for quite a while. I mean, he ended up getting some of those, interviews in the recent past with other teams. He's been a name that has continuously kind of filtered in and out. And I think that one of the reasons why is that he is, he's got the former player, he's got the quarterback experience, all those other things. He's also not only been with the New York Giants, but in the recent past, he was the quarterback coach for Patrick Mahomes. He was the passing game coordinator, I believe, for that team too, and a couple of electrifying years in 2020 and 2021. So I think that those were things that made him a candidate in New York as an offensive coordinator. And then now he's been in New York. I'm sure he's learned some lessons of what not to do while there, and it makes him a pretty solid candidate going into future head coaching searches as well. I think that he's a guy that also, if I'm not mistaken, kind of checks the Parcells tree box. He has the Andy Reid connection there too, and has been a part of a big market. And so I think all those things make him a guy that teams are going to want to talk to over the course of this offseason.
He's Ross Jackson, LouisianaSports.net. Of course, Locked on Saints podcast as well. Get him on Twitter at Ross Jackson Nola. Okay, let's talk about some of the rumors that we've heard. Over the weekend, the John Gruden thing was thrown out there. How much validity do you think there is to the John Gruden talk?
I think there's validity that he's going to get looks. It's going to be one of those things where like one team jumps the shark and says, yeah, okay, we'll do it. We'll interview John Gruden. And then because the one team did it, every other team goes, okay, it's okay to do it now. And then they'll all go out and do it. I expect that will be the case. I think he'll get a flurry of those phone calls. And so we'll see exactly which way it all goes for him. But I wouldn't be surprised if maybe his re-entrance to the NFL isn't immediately back as a head coach. That would be out of the ordinary, regardless of any means of dismissal and leaving and resignation and all these other things. Obviously, like the emails are a huge part. There's a lot of baggage when it comes to that. I think, though, that where the Saints kind of probably aren't a good fit for him is that they're a team that's kind of already in a little bit of turmoil, right? Like a lot of changeover coming for this team. Are they really in the position to be able to absorb all of that controversy, all of that baggage? I don't know that they are. But I do think that there's validity in that teams don't mind rolling the dice on a guy like John Gruden if other teams also aren't worried about rolling the dice on John Gruden. So we'll see where it goes, but I think it'll be a floodgate situation. The
other one that was sort of rumored here is David Shaw, the former Stanford head coach. This was interesting. So James Slater of NFL Media, who's certainly reputable, cited two sources that the Saints were going to interview David Shaw. Nick Underhill, who also, of course, is very reputable, reported that the Saints wouldn't, in turn, interview David Shaw. What can you tell us, Ross, and then what would be your reaction to Shaw as a potential candidate?
Yeah, I think Shaw as a potential candidate is a good candidate. I think he's a solid candidate. I wouldn't be surprised if he turns out to be one for some team and everything like that, New Orleans Saints included. It could be a situation to where, one report came from the intent to interview, while another report comes from, hey, that's not necessarily happening right now, but that doesn't mean that it couldn't happen down the road. Like there's a bunch of reasons why these types of things can conflict. But I think that when you look at what it is that a guy like David Shaw brings you is again his experience with quarterbacks, his experience as an offensive mind. He's worked with guys like Andrew Luck, who was one of the greatest quarterback prospects coming into the NFL at any point, and then now has experience with Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos. Like there's some connective tissue there all of a sudden. So I wouldn't be surprised to see an interview potentially happen or there to be some interest. I think as a candidate, he's a solid candidate. I don't know that this is his cycle to actually get a job, but sometimes this is also about get him in, have the interview, keep tabs on him for maybe something else or a future need at a later time, and at least opening up his opportunities within the NFL.
A couple more quickly. He's on Twitter at Ross Jackson, NOLA, LouisianaSports.net, Locked On Saints podcast. If you're not listening to Ross every day, why not? If you're not reading him every day, why not? This is like the best time. This is, with the season being what it was, this is the time when things are actually really interesting right now. Okay, you mentioned Aaron Glenn early in this conversation. I guess two-parter, why does Glenn make sense? And then the other part is, why would Glenn, who is going to be very desirable, want New Orleans?
Yeah, man, that's going to be a really interesting one to watch. Because like I said earlier, I really think that Aaron Glenn is going to be, I wouldn't blame him for being very tempted and intrigued by that New York Jets job either. It's not every day you get to be a guy that could potentially be a head coach of the New York Jets for all their ineptitude as of late. It's still a very historied franchise. And so I think the thing that you look at in terms of looking back at why would Aaron Glenn want New Orleans, knowing that the Jets are available, is like, look, that's not going to be that's tough competition for New Orleans. But I think that for Glenn, maybe the thing is the connective tissue that he already has here. Of course, he was a defensive backs coach, finished his career as a player here in 2008. And again, you're looking at a team that would be able to provide him as a first-time head coach a lot of patience and a lot of time to build what it is that he wants. And a lot of the things that he wants to do on defense, a lot of the players and personnel-wise on the roster here already know what that is and how to do it. Not a lot of translation, all those other things. He would have leaders probably for another year, some collection of guys like DeMario Davis and Tyrann Mathieu and Cam Jordan, whoever makes it to 2025. Those guys would be able to kind of help to translate his system to guys because they would already have the experience, yada, yada. So I think that there's just the symmetry there makes it an easier transition and then a patient transition. But I think he's going to be really tempted by what the Jets have to offer.
Is there any name we haven't talked about yet that's worth mentioning as of now?
Well, certainly we should talk about Matt Nagy, shouldn't we?
Oh, God, I did forget about that was you want to talk about a Freudian slip? Just omitting Matt Nagy from this conversation unintentionally says everything that needs to be said, right? Okay, Matt Nagy, give me 30, or you can take 60 if you need it, but hopefully no more than that.
I won't need 60. Okay. I think you look at Matt Nagy as like a Mike Vrabel light. Somebody that you bring in to be a figurehead head coach that builds a culture, and then perhaps you can maybe sell that culture at a later time. But somebody to kind of help guide you through your rebuild, and then try to be like a lesser version of what a guy like Mike Vrabel is. If you want another candidate though that can be a culture builder for you and potentially be a long-term option, Miami Dolphins defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver is definitely a guy to watch, at least in this coaching cycle. He might not be a fit for the New Orleans Saints, but he's somebody that's going to get a job eventually. Former player, has the gusto to get everybody kind of riled up, generate buy-in, all that kind of stuff. So if I'm New Orleans and I'm looking at Matt Nagy and I'm looking at Anthony Weaver, I'm leaning a little bit more towards Anthony Weaver, even though he's on the defensive side of the football, because not only would you be able to generate that buy-in, generate that culture, and build something that's a little unique with him, you'd also get somebody that's going to bring you a really, really unique approach to your defense, which I think the Saints get a little bit of a refresh there.
Ross Jackson, I'll let you go right. Thank you.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you having me on. Take care. Stay safe. Talk to you soon.
That's Ross Jackson. It's after further review. We'll talk to Brad Crawford, 24/7 Sports next.
After further review.
Get Gordon and get it done. Gordon McKernan, injury attorneys. You've been injured in an accident. It's not your fault. You know what to do. Do what injured people in our state have done for 3 decades. Get Gordon and get it done. You can go to the website, getgordon.com, getgordon.com. Remember, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys has offices all over the state of Louisiana, so literally no matter what corner of the state you're in, if you've been injured in an accident, it's not your fault. Gordon and his team can help you because they're nearby. Just go to getgordon.com, getgordon.com. And they practice in all areas. If you're interested, yes, we talk a lot about car accidents or big truck wrecks or hit and runs, things like that. But if you go to the website, you can hit the cases that we handle tab, and you could read about all the dozens of different ways that Gordon and his team of attorneys can help. Yes, car wrecks, truck accidents, personal injury, offshore, maritime, workers' comp, wrongful death, slip and fall, Social Security, disability. Learn more at getgordon.com. Get Gordon and get it done.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Savor game day platters and snacks, plus drink specials at 1717 Kitchen and Cocktail. So come out.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh yeah, they also do interior shutters.
A beauty, as they say, is in the eye of the beholder, but when it comes to this transfer portal class, everyone beholding, it's a consensus. LSU is at or near the top of every list because, man, the work LSU's done, and quite honestly, the money they spent as well has been impressive. Brad Crawford says LSU's the big winner so far in this portal class. He writes for 24/7 Sports, part of CBS as well. He's good enough to join us here. Hey, Brad, always appreciate it, man. Happy New Year. How are you?
Yeah, man, you too. It's been a busy January. I got home from Pasadena a couple days ago, so looking forward to 2 playoff games this week and then Atlanta next weekend.
Yeah, man. I love that this thing is extended to the end of January, but a different conversation for a different day. Why do you love what LSU's done in the portal?
I think LSU has massively upgraded at their wide receiver position. Barrion Brown is a guy that several SEC programs wanted. Not only is he going to help out in the speed department on LSU's offense, but he is going to be undoubtedly one of the SEC's top special teamers. I like the Destin Hill from Florida State. He's a guy who maybe hasn't had the career yet that a lot of us thought he would, but I think that he can break out in Baton Rouge. And then one of the big ones is Nick Anderson. Oklahoma did not need to lose him. Now the Sooners have one of the worst wide receiver groups in the SEC heading into 2025. So LSU has upgraded significantly at wide receiver, and they spend a lot of money on defense too.
So it's funny that you started with wide receiver because offense wasn't really LSU's problem for the most part this year, but they undeniably got better. Defense was an issue again.
Yeah.
What do you think about what they did on the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, I think Mansour Delane from Virginia Tech and Jakeem Jackson from Florida, 2 cornerbacks. I mean, they're going to be instantly in the 2 deep there at LSU. Cornerback has been a bad position, let's face it, the past couple of years, really since Derek Stingley left. Yeah. LSU has not had an elite player at the position, so they're going to get better in the secondary. And then Jack Pyburn from Florida at edge. I mean, he's a guy that the Gators did not want to lose, but to be honest with you, LSU just paid more, and Florida said, we're gonna back off. So he's a guy that I think can have an 8 or 9 sack season for LSU's defense. And like you said, man, that side of the football, if LSU intends on making the playoff, it has to be elite.
We'll get to the playoff here in just a quick second. Brad Crawford is our guest from 24/7 Sports, of course, part of CBS as well. Brad, I'm most interested in obviously covering it from a national perspective as you do. The more years and more cycles that we have, the more we're learning about how college football is going to behave around the portal and everything. Now into this season, in this portal cycle, what do you see? Like, what are some 10,000-foot flyover view observations of how college football programs are building their roster and how it's behaving right now with the portal?
Yeah, I'm seeing some of these positions, man, being 3 and 4X compared to last cycle as far as NIL deals are concerned. I mean, there's a power conference team that signed a G5 quarterback who started at a 6-6, 7-5 type school, and he got $1.5 million. And so that power conference school is like, putting all their eggs in a basket of a guy who's never played against elite competition. That's a worry. I'm seeing backup quarterbacks being paid $300,000 and $400,000 just to be retained, who might not even play next season. So, I mean, coaches are having a hard time, man, just trying to have roster retention. Not only do you have to recruit high school guys and, sign a dozen or more portal guys to fill personnel issues, but you have to also keep the best players you have. I mean, the numbers didn't come out on Garrett Nussmeier, but I can assure you he will be one of college football's highest paid quarterbacks next year, because I think if he would have come out, there's a chance that Garrett could have been quarterback 3 in this NFL draft.
Do you the question everybody asks is it sustainable? And maybe this is a program-to-program conversation, Brad, but when you get posed that question, what do you say?
No, I don't think it is. And I think we're going to have a collective bargaining situation here in about a year in college football. A lot of this is going to change. I mean, from the player standpoint, I would enter the portal every cycle that I'm able to, just to try and get more money from whoever represents me. I mean, these schools, have hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. I know they're asking fans to pay NIL. I mean, Alabama's AD has come out and, gotten on his knees basically and asked fans, we need more money to compete and with the elites. But I mean, if I'm a wide receiver and I just had a 1,200-yard touchdown, a 1,200-yard season with 10 touchdowns, I'm getting paid in 2025. And until things change, I think you see the elite players doing that.
So do you think, and Brad Crawford's our guest here from 24/7 Sports, do you notice that coaches are changing the way they recruit from the high school level because of what feels inevitable right now? I mean, every year a quarter of college football is in the portal, which means after 2 years, half of your high school class is gone.
Yeah, I think unless you're, really one of the 6 to 8 have-nots in college football, obviously LSU, in my opinion, is one of those, half dozen teams or so. But you have to recruit year to year. I mean, in 2025, after spring practice, I think the spring transfer portal is going to be huge, because you're going to have big names enter that portal. And basically, since you're going to have a small amount of players left for a bunch of holes for these top 25 teams, they're going to get premium dollar because there's only a few months before the season starts. So I think at most programs, though, you are just trying to make the playoff year to year. You are not trying to build a roster 2 and 3 years down the road And you're not worried about player development, to be honest with you, because you're only as good as your next 12 games in college football.
Yeah, Brad, it's interesting that the segue there about building to get to the playoff, because I've said I think with what LSU has done here, that is the baseline expectation for 2025. If they are not in a 12-team college football playoff, it is a cataclysmic failure with what they spent, what they have coming back, what they have coming in. You took a stab at a way too early college football playoff projection, and you have LSU in as a 7 seed, so hosting a first-round game against the 10-seed Miami. Tell us how you came to that conclusion.
Yeah, this would likely be LSU either finishing SEC runner-up to Texas, who is my SEC preseason favorite, or, perhaps being a 10-2 team somewhere in that log jam of second and third place teams. LSU's a team in 2025. I look at them a lot like I look at this 2024 Ohio State team. 9 months ago, Ohio State was my preseason favorite to win it all because they spent $20 million on this roster. Now, it took Ryan Day several months to get this team to play at a level that warrants that much spending. But I think Brian Kelly has a staff in place, and Brian Kelly has said on the record that he expects to be in the playoffs next season. 2 years ago at Media Days, I talked to Brian Kelly, and he did not have that same expectation. 2 years later, he feels the roster's at a spot now with NIL where he can get it. So the LSU schedule, it begins at Clemson. That's a game that I think LSU has to win to be one of those at-large playoff teams if this squad does not win the SEC.
He is Brad Crawford, like many, likes what LSU did here in the portal and kind of projected to be a playoff team in 2025. I assume we're going to hear a lot of that between now and August. Brad, we appreciate it, man. Thanks so much for the time, as always.
No problem at all, man.
Of course. Y'all get him on Twitter at @BCrawford247, at @BCrawford247. Good stuff there from Brad. We appreciate a couple of minutes. We're brought to you by the Williamson Eye Center. Hey, look, in 2025, if your New Year's resolution is going to be to ditch the contacts and glasses forever, start with a call to the Williamson Eye Center. 924-2020, 924-2020, 924-2020, or WilliamsonEye.com. When you call, you'll have that free consultation. That consultation, you can do it virtually if you want. You do it over phone or Zoom. You talk to Kyle, the coordinator there at the Williamson Eye Center. You'll go through that conversation with her, that consultation, and she'll effectively tell you based on a few pieces of information what your options are. And then you can meet with Dr. Blake, and he'll go through whatever process and procedure would be like for you. You can make an educated decision. It's the Williamson Eye Center. Ditch the contacts and glasses forever. The Williamson Eye Center can help. 924-2020, 924-2020, or WilliamsonEye.com. Been a really good show, man. Appreciate y'all for being here. We still got Cody Benjamin in about 15 minutes. One more guest here. We'll talk national, big picture NFL conversation with the playoffs now set. Joe Burrow on the outside looking in. Jaden Daniels and the Commanders chugging along. So we'll talk some NFL playoffs in about 15 minutes with Cody Benjamin. We'll look forward to that. Hey, let me knock out a break. Muse will do Tigers and the Pros when we come back. Still want to talk about the LSU portal, the outgoing portal class. Portal window's closed for LSU. So what did they lose with one more player jumping in at the end? We'll get to that here in about 20 minutes from right now. Stick around. It's AFR.
AFR.
Man, a new year, same spot over at Rouse's. But every year over at Rouse's, they continue to grow and expand. And I love telling you about how they keep maintaining all that those local community touch points while they continue to grow and expand. More than 70 locations now from Lake Charles to Orange Beach. By the way, today is King's Day, which means, of course, it is king cake season, y'all. And there ain't no place better than Rouse's. Get by any Rouse's location and get your king cake. Stop on in on the way home, grab a king cake to keep at the house. Tomorrow on the way to work, be the most popular person in the office when you pull on into Rouse's on the way to work, because no matter where you live, there's a Rouse's on your way to work. Pull on into Rouse's, grab a king cake, leave it in the kitchen at work with a note to everybody. Happy New Year. Happy king cake season. From leave your name, you'll be the most popular person at the office. But, of course, Rouse's is the place you got to go. Rouse's.com, Rouse's.com, Rouse's. This feels like home.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
the best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh yeah, they also do interior shutters.
I just retweeted, by the way, the piece from Brad Crawford over at 24/7, where he's got his way too early college football projections. If you're interested, you can go check it out. I just retweeted. I'm at Matt Moscona on Twitter or X. All right, wrapping up hour number 2. Muso, Tigers in the pros.
Tigers in the pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now.
Well, the NFL weekend got underway on Saturday, and the nightcap Bengals-Steelers had plenty of LSU flavor in it. It was a really good game, too. Joe Burrow completes what would have been an MVP season had his defense not been terrible. 277 yards passing in the game, a touchdown, and a pick. Joey B ends the season as the NFL's leader in passing yards. He also had a carry, but that was for -1 yards. Jamar Chase put together a really nice game as well. 10 receptions.
Design run.
Huh?
A design
there
run.
You go, yeah.
Little quarterback power.
Quarterback power. 10 receptions for Jamar for 96 yards and a touchdown. Jamar Chase ends the NFL regular season as the receiving yards leader.
Oh, is that good?
That's pretty good. Yeah, right there. A really, really awesome offensive performance by the Bengals all season. Again, just that.
So did he win the Triple Crown?
That pesky defense. Jamar? I didn't look that up. Let's see.
Keep going. I'll get it.
All right. Patrick Queen was on the other side and had a really, really solid game. 5 tackles, a sack. He also defended a pass and had a second hit on the quarterback. He did. Jamar Chase did.
6 to win it, yes.
That's awesome, man. I mean, that was he was awesome all season long. Unfortunately, the Bengals, they are done. Speaking of being awesome all season long, Brian Thomas, I mean, he went out there and set rookie records for the Jaguars, and 7 receptions, 103 yards in his final game of the season. No touchdowns, but 1,282 yards. That's third in the NFL for receiving yards. Brian Thomas was absolutely awesome this year in his rookie season. How about Kayshon Boutte yesterday? Did you see this?
No.
7 receptions.
Okay.
117 yards and a touchdown for Kayshawn. Easily the Patriots' leading receiver in the game. Caught most of those off the right arm of Joe Milton, former Tennessee Vol there. But Kayshawn hadn't really been able to find his footing there, but he's had a few of those games like that that are just kind of sprinkled in every now and then where he's like, hey, I'm still Kayshawn Boutte, and I'm still really good at this.
Yeah. He can stay healthy. He can be.
Yeah. Malik Neighbors.
How about it?
5 receptions, 64 yards, a touchdown. Really kind of just a pedestrian day, but pretty big impact. Broke the Giants' receptions record. Not for a rookie, for the New York Giants. 109 receptions. Did it as a rookie, but best single season.
They played football for a long time there, those Giants? Those New York football Giants?
Yeah, the New York football Giants. They have. They've played plenty of football. And then we'll wrap it up. Foster Moreau yesterday, 4 receptions, 31 yards, but did suffer the injury at the end of the ball game. Updates provided earlier Monday by Darren Rizzy. It's a knee, and they're waiting on a little bit more imaging to come back to see if Foster needs surgery. He's got a knee. It could require surgery. They're just waiting to see. Should know more later in the week on Foster. That's Tigers in the Pros.
Presented by Shaw Bills Tire and Auto Service. ShawBillsTire.com. ShawBillsTire.com. Locations all over South Louisiana. Get the 2025 savings started off right instantly. $50 off a set of 4 BF Goodrich tires plus free installation, which is a $118 value when you use your Shaw Bills credit card. Just one of the great offers. That's good through January the 31st. See store or ShawBillsTire.com for full details, subject to credit approval. Again, go to ShawBillsTire.com, hit the promotions tab, and you can see all of the great dealer specials that they have at Shaw Bills. They're going to get you name brand tires at wholesale prices. So if you need tires to start 2025, get the best tires at the cheapest price. That's at Shaw Bills. ShawBillsTire.com. ShawBillsTire.com. Shaw Bills. We keep you rolling. All right, y'all. Glad to have you hanging with us. Remember, you can always email us, tweet us, text us in the 225-396-4400, 396-4400, 396-4400. Lots of ways that you can get involved in the show. Thanks to Ross Jackson talking Saints coaching search. You heard Brad Crawford this hour as well. Cody Benjamin right after the top of the hour. We'll talk NFL playoffs. And then I do want to get into the LSU transfer portal recap. The portal window closed over the weekend for LSU. So where do the Tigers stand after their losses? That's next on AFR.
AFR.
Brought to you by South Point Volkswagen and SouthPointVW.com. New and certified pre-owned in Baton Rouge and online at SouthPointVW.com. SouthPointVW.com. Y'all, the new year is here. And if part of your new year will involve a new vehicle, well, then you got to go to South Point Volkswagen, because South Point Volkswagen is Louisiana's largest volume Volkswagen dealer. There is no Volkswagen dealer in the state of Louisiana that has more inventory than South Point. So even if you're not in Baton Rouge, y'all, it's worth checking out South Point to see if they have the make, the model, the body style, the features that you're looking for at South Point Volkswagen. Airline just north of Highland. Of course, they'll always work a great deal for you because they move more inventory. They can make a better deal. And also, certified pre-owned. If you're looking for a pre-owned vehicle, shop South Point Volkswagen as well. They do so much volume. They got a great certified pre-owned selection as well. It's all there for you at South Point Volkswagen. South Point Volkswagen. What's your direction?
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. The Bears have asked for permission to interview Cowboys coach Mike McCarthy for their head coaching job. They're awaiting a response from Dallas. His contract with the Cowboys expires Wednesday, but the team does hold an exclusive negotiating window with him through January 14th. Packers coach Matt LaFleur confirmed receiver Christian Watson will miss the rest of the season with a torn ACL. The injury for Watson is huge for Green Bay, says ESPN's Dan Orlovsky.
I really believe that that's the most impactful perimeter player that they have. Just because he's the vertical threat guy, he's not only the guy that actually makes plays down the field, but he's the person that at least fears or puts the fear in defenses to go make some plays down the field. Well, I do really like their pieces. I just don't think that they have enough vertical speed to really push the ball downfield.
Green Bay's at Philadelphia for Sunday's NFC wildcard game. Jaguars owner Shad Khan said he made the decision to only fire coach Doug Peterson but keep GM Trent Baalke was in large part because he felt Jacksonville was the most predictable team in the NFL. NBA Maverick star Kyrie Irving out at least 1 to 2 weeks with a back issue, reports ESPN's Shams Charania.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. At Progressive, they're making things even easier. They'll help you bundle your home and car insurance together so you can save on both. Learn more at progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio.
Let's ride! Go!
Hour 3, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, presented by Relief Windows. I'm Matt.
This is Shaq O'Neal, and I hate Matt.
Paul O'Neal.
They're chanting Paul O'Neal's name.
Yusuf. And Mr. Toby Tumpley. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. 5 o'clock quitting time. Glad you are driving home with us. 15 minutes, we'll talk some about LSU transfer portal. LSU's portal window is closed, so we'll assess who has left the program and what those losses may amount to. That's coming up here in about 15 minutes from right now. NFL coaching carousel in full swing. Is this his Black Monday? Cody Benjamin covering it all over at CBS Sports. Oh, by the way, the playoffs are about to get underway as well. Good enough to join us for a couple of minutes. Hey, Cody, thanks, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's obviously a crazy time, but a lot of excitement for, if your team's in the playoffs or if you're trying to get some fresh hope for the offseason.
I don't know that either of those things are true for New Orleans Saints fans. Just being very frank, when you assess the Saints in their search for a coach, how desirable might this job be?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, every cycle we have this conversation about which job is attractive, which one do guys not want to go to. I mean, the reality is that somebody is going to want the job. There's going to be interviews. There's going to be interest because there's only 32 of these jobs. I mean, other people have said this as well. It's you don't always get these opportunities. The problem, I guess, is that, yes, in comparison to these other openings, Chicago, New England, where there's, just starting out, the biggest asset that you're looking for, a young, promising quarterback, I mean, that exists in those places. And then in New Orleans, you're not only dealing with, I guess, the lack of that long-term option under center, but you're also dealing with it's not a great cap situation. And so the Saints, unfortunately, they're not one of those teams that it's not like a Cowboys situation where they've been, a contender recently, but there's questions about leadership. And they're also not on the flip end where they've just bottomed out. They are kind of in that purgatory, right in the middle, where, they're going to have a top 10 pick, but it's not a top 5 pick. And so just a lot of questions that would need to be answered by whomever they bring in here.
Yeah. Do you suspect any other jobs will come open?
I'm a little bit surprised that the Raiders job isn't open. I know that, Antonio Pierce was kind of, he had that interim stretch as a feisty motivator for Vegas, but, considering how quickly New England dumped Gerard Mayo, and he was the hand-picked successor to Bill Belichick. I thought that, and with Tom Brady in the ownership now, and there's some changes up top for Las Vegas, I'm surprised that hasn't opened. That would be a possibility yet. And then obviously all eyes are on the Cowboys as far as what happens with Mike McCarthy. I can't see any other surprise. I mean, obviously the playoffs, we can keep our eyes on those teams. I don't think, even if the Eagles, for example, go one and done, I think it'd be hard for Jeffrey Lurie to say we're going to axe Nick Sirianni after his second 14-win season as the Eagles coach. But obviously that's something to watch. The Bills, if they can't get over the hump with Sean McDermott again, maybe that starts to crop up again. But right now, no, I think this is what we've got.
What about Pittsburgh?
Well, I think that everyone probably understands that Mike Tomlin probably can hold that Steelers job as long as he desires. But, would you have conversations? Would it be a natural break-off point for both Tomlin and the Steelers if you go one and done, you have no offensive juice in the playoffs, then really you're back at square one at the most important position, quarterback, and you're kind of stuck in the same cycle you've been in for years now. Really since the last couple of years with Ben Roethlisberger. And so you could make a case that it's a natural opportunity for them to say, look, just like Andy Reid with Philadelphia, just like Sean McVay with New Orleans, the legacy is tied to the city, but we both benefit from a fresh start. I still will believe it when I see it, but I don't think it's crazy out of the question.
Do you think Cody Benjamin's our guest, NFL writer for CBS Sports? My first reaction when I saw the New England news of Gerard Mayo was, Mike Vrabel's taking that job. Like they made the decision because they know they got their guy. That I know nothing. I'm just speculating. Do you have any insight there?
Well, I think like you said, it doesn't really take much to draw that conclusion. I think that the connection is clear. Mike Vrabel, Gerard Mayo, he had the history as a player and then as a staff member under Bill Belichick. Mike Vrabel was an even more accomplished player under Bill Belichick. Obviously, his coaching took him elsewhere, but he also, he led 3 straight playoff runs as a head coach in the NFL. That's something that Gerard Mayo just hasn't done. So I think it's easy to connect the dots. There was a report from, CBS, our own CBS, that indicated Vrabel's interview with the Jets was really part of a leverage play to try and put pressure on New England to open up that job. I think those are all accurate. I think that's true. But if I'm Robert Kraft, I would be a little hesitant to go down. I don't think Mayo and Vrabel are equal, but I think that it's a similar path, going down the, Belichick tree of a defensive guy when clearly, you might have a quarterback there. Maybe you want to invest in a guy who can really focus on that side of the ball.
Cody Benjamin's our guest. You can get him on Twitter at Cody J. Benjamin, NFL writer for CBS Sports. Two guys that I think are going to be the apple of many teams' eyes are Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. There's been a lot of talk about Ben Johnson and sort of being able to pick his spot. Do you think this is the year where there is a desirable enough spot where he does jump and become a head coach?
Possibly. I mean, I think that, it's always, I always am not quite sure how to read these, when you have a guy that, for example, Eric Bieniemy for a couple of years, I know that, he was working with Andy Reid, and so it was a little harder to, suggest that he was directly responsible for so much success that Kansas City had. But like a guy like that, where every year he's the hot candidate, and yet every year something didn't go right, for him or the team that resulted in him not getting the job. I mean, we're not quite in that territory with Ben Johnson, but year after year, I mean, if a guy really wants a head coaching job, and teams really want him, it's going to happen. So I think that, it may be possible he just loves the cozy setup that's in Detroit, the fact that he can contend as part of that team. But yeah, I think that's why part of me hesitates. Would he really jump to, for example, the seller of that division and have to go up against the Lions twice a year, the Packers twice a year, the Vikings twice a year, if he took the Bears job? But I do think from a personnel standpoint, from a prospect standpoint, the Bears do stand out. I mean, because Caleb Williams, that's a guy who, theoretically, that's a great ball of clay to be able to mold. You've got young wideouts. You've got a lot of salary cap space. So I think that makes the most sense, unless he values also like the stable ownership of somewhere like New England, where he might get the chance to mold a guy like Drake May.
What about Aaron Glenn? How high is Aaron Glenn on the wish list pecking order for teams?
Yeah, I think that clearly, I mean, a lot of moves and things in the NFL occur based on what happened lately. And we definitely saw, in this Week 18 game where it felt like a playoff game between the Lions and Vikings. I mean, Brian Flores, he gets so much credit for what he's done with the Vikings defense. My goodness, Aaron Glenn getting that performance out of that Lions group. It's a makeshift group at some levels. That stands out. Now, obviously, the playoffs could also dictate things, but I do think he's a legitimate candidate. I don't think it's just kind of a fad here. I think that, a place like New York, maybe even New Orleans, again, maybe you don't want to go down that tree of, he was here with, part of the Dennis Allen, Sean Payton regime. But I think those organizations, and he has ties to those, obviously playing and or coaching with them. I think those stand out as possible landing spots for him.
Cody, if I asked you to pick the best realistic candidate for New Orleans, who do you think that is?
I might go with Joe Brady. I mean, and that's kind of combining, what could be feasible and what might be wise for the Saints. Just because I do think, after so many years, not so many years, I guess, obviously Sean Payton was in town, but kind of in that placeholder stage with Dennis Allen, where you've got a defensive mind up top, you're kind of stuck in this purgatory state. I think it'd be nice to swing it in the direction of like a Carolina. They were really projecting with Dave Canales. They're projecting that he could do something with Bryce Young. And that's, there's still questions to be answered there. The Saints obviously don't have a Bryce Young prospect in the building, but a Joe Brady who obviously has had success in that area, as a college coach, who has done some good things as a coordinator at the NFL level. I don't know that there's going to be 3, 4 teams with him at the top of their pecking order. So I think that's a realistic possibility there.
Boy, that would be met with resounding praise from fans down yonder. Cody Benjamin, CBS Sports. We appreciate it, man. Thanks for the time.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
That's our pleasure. It's It's after further review. By the way, am I missing on that? I would love your feedback. Like every time over at LouisianaSports.net or when we put up a YouTube video from the show and we talk about Joe Brady, I mean, it goes bonkers. Like, and obviously it's because there's the tie to the 2019 LSU Tigers. But am I missing the mark here? Like, if the Saints land on Joe Brady, I feel like that would be the sentimental and fan favorite right now. Like, if we put up a poll, maybe can we do that? Let's do that on Twitter. Like, that's obviously not representative of the entire fan base, but like, if we put up a poll, it's like, who would you want to be the Saints coach? Brady, Aaron Glenn, Vrabel, other. I mean, I kind of have a feeling Brady would take it a landslide. Maybe I'm wrong, but let me know your thoughts. We're brought to you by Supper Club, supperclubbtr.com. Y'all, new year. You want to celebrate the new year? My goodness. Get on out to Supper Club. Hey, they're closed on Monday, so can't get by today. But you've been waiting for the opportunity. You've heard me talk about Supper Club all throughout this fall. Gosh, the new year is a perfect time, man. When you start to get into the new year, you get out of the holidays, you get out of all the parties and everything. You actually kind of get a little bit of your social life back, not associated with work and holiday parties all the time. Get on by Supper Club. Maybe you're knocking off of work tomorrow. Swing on in. Remember, it's open seating at the bar. So you can always pop in after work, have a cocktail, a glass of wine, a premium spirit. You want to have a great dinner, you can belly up to the bar and have dinner. Last time I went into Supper Club, I did that. I went after work one day. It was a Thursday. Just went into Supper Club, sat at the bar, had a steak. It was awesome. Or you want to plan that special night out, you can always do it at Supper Club. Get your reservations at supperclubbtr.com, supperclubbtr.com. Supper Club took experiences that you can only get in the most lavish parts of the world. New York City, Paris, San Francisco, the UAE. And Brandon Mackenzie Landry brought it and plopped it right down on Perkins Road in Baton Rouge. Go experience Supper Club. supperclubbtr.com. All right, it's after further review. Monday show is brought to you by Relief Windows. Let me knock out a break. Come back. LSU's portal window is closed. So 19 players hit the portal. The last doing so over the weekend. We'll talk about Jalen Lee leaving the Tigers. And we'll sort of assess what LSU lost. The portal, look, what they brought in is undeniable. What did they lose? We'll assess that when we come back. It's AFR.
AFR.
New year, maybe a new opportunity. Yo, it's 38 degrees right now. It's 5:15 in the afternoon. The lows all this week are going to be in the 20s. So that means you're cranking up the heater at your home. And I've been telling you for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks now to make sure you get your preseason heater safety check. And so many of you, thankfully, did it. And so many of you didn't. But it's not too late to make sure you get that thing serviced. But most importantly right now, please be mindful. There was a story in the news over the weekend of a house fire because of a heater unit gone bad. Funny noises, funny smells, or maybe you just don't know the last time you had your heater cleaned and checked. Y'all, please call River City's 1 Hour Air and get this done. 752-0001, 752-0001, 752-0001. Look for the big yellow vans with the giant clocks on the sides. River City's 1 Hour Air.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756.
For the review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh yeah, they also do interior shutters.
Darren Rizzy met with reporters on Monday, recapping the season, looking ahead at the offseason. Let's hear some of what Riz had to say about 10 minutes from right now, maybe a little longer than that. Portal window is closed for LSU. Remember, every team, you have 5 days after your season ends to enter the transfer portal. And in all, LSU ended up with 19 players that hit the portal. Not an altogether surprising number. Roughly a quarter of all of college football players hit the portal. Think about that. About 25% of all college football players hit the portal this year. So it stands to reason on an 85-man roster, somewhere in that 20-ish number is about what you'd expect leaving your team each year. But then, of course, you're going to have guys who are out of eligibility and guys who go pro. And then you're bringing in a freshman signing class. You're bringing in the portal members. So LSU's had 19 go out and 14 so far come in, and I don't believe they're done. The last to exit was Jalen Lee. Now, candidly, I had to do a double take whenever I saw this because I thought Jalen Lee was out of eligibility. And I know he wasn't a JUCO guy, so he's not taking advantage of the Diego Pavia rule. But when I dig a little deeper, I go back and I look at, okay, so he was a true freshman at Florida in 2020. So that was the COVID year, free season for everybody. So really, his 5 to play 4 started in 2021. Well, he plays in 8 games in 2021 for the Gators. So that's a year of eligibility that counts. In 2022, he played in a dozen games at Florida with 3 starts. So that's 2 years. So he comes to LSU in 2023 with 2 years of eligibility remaining. Well, in 2023, he plays in 7 games for the Tigers. So he's got 1 year left. Like Jalen Lee coming into this year had 1 year of eligibility remaining. That was it. So when I saw him in the portal, I was like, how did that happen? Well, as it turns out, despite LSU in the offseason looking at defensive tackle as the unquestioned single biggest need and question mark position on LSU's roster at defensive tackle, Jalen Lee redshirted this year. He only played 4 games. He played in the first 3 and then didn't play again until the Arkansas game. Of course, you beat Ole Miss, then you went to Arkansas and won impressively. And the Arkansas game was the last time we saw Jalen Lee on the field. So his He redshirted this season. He had not taken a redshirt, so he is eligible to play a 6th season somewhere else. So Jalen Lee entered the transfer portal. And I look at Jalen Lee entering the portal similarly to how I look at Kimo Makaneoli entering the portal, which he did late last week, and we talked about that if you missed it. And I actually look at this kind of as a good sign. Now, I'm going to tell you candidly, this is the spin zone here, okay? I'm spinning this because you never want to lose veteran depth. Of course, you would rather have Lee and JVR Suggs and Kimo and Demyron Johnson. So you had 4 defensive tackles enter the portal in the cycle. The freshman Demyron Johnson, JVR Suggs, who played 1 season here. He's going to Wisconsin now. Kimo, and then now Jalen Lee. Of course, you'd rather have those guys than not have them. But follow me here. When you've got a guy like JVR Suggs, who in half of the season this year, in 6 games, played single-digit snaps. But the snaps he played were high leverage downs. He was a specialized interior pass rusher. So he didn't have a lot of snaps, but he had 11 pressures in very limited snaps, 3 sacks. So he's very good at the thing he did. He just wasn't an every down tackle. So the fact that he left told you he wasn't going to be an every down tackle next year either. That's a pretty good sign. It means that you have guys that are better. And the same thing with Kimo and with Jalen Lee, who are veteran guys who couldn't crack the rotation. So I actually look at it and say, that's probably a good sign for the guys that you have, that you're not counting on or betting on these guys to do something they've never done in their career because you feel like there's a higher upside with the guys that you do have. The other part of it, too, is LSU only went and added 1 defensive tackle, Sadir Mitchell from Texas. Now, he's a guy who looks differently than every other defensive tackle you got. He's 6'6", 350. That is a big old space-eating dude. Now, I don't think Sadir Mitchell's coming in and giving you 60 snaps a game and is going to be a 50-tackle guy on the interior of your defense. I think he's a big old body that's going to rotate in and stuff the run. Eat up blocks. Like, that's his role on this defense. Bo Davis recruited him to Texas. Now he's got him in Baton Rouge as the 3rd-year player who's physically different than everybody else you got. But when I look at defensive tackle, I just think about how light years apart LSU is today from where they were a calendar year ago when they got Bo Davis, when Jordan Jefferson and Mason Smith and Mekhi Wingo all went pro. You are light years away from where you were last spring when you were moving Kimo Makaneoli from offensive line to defensive tackle because you needed warm bodies to line up on the defensive line. When Brian Kelly was telling you, man, this is our most gigantic, glaring position of need. It is a must. We got to go get defensive tackles. And you couldn't land Dominic Williams, and in turn you end up, or Simeon Barrow, and you end up with JVR Suggs from Grand Valley. Like it was your biggest need, and your only get was a kid from Division II Grand Valley. Like, you are in a different stratosphere from that. So as I look at it, yes, you're losing 4 defensive tackles, but look at what you have. It's almost like after signing day, you tend to focus on what you lost, but when you actually put in context of what you got, it's really good. So Jacobian Guillory's back for his 6th season. And going into last year, he was going to be your best guy. So adding Jacobian coming off of injury is almost like going out and adding an elite portal defensive tackle. It's a guy you didn't have this year, who you have next year. It's a huge advantage. You got Sean Washington coming back for another year. Another big dude on the interior who's a good rotational piece for you. Ahmad Bro and Dominic McKinley showed incredible progress throughout their freshman seasons. Dom battled that toe injury early, and by the second half of the season, he played really well for you. And he played over 60 snaps in the bowl game. Was by far the most snaps he'd played in a game. So you can see with those 4 right there, and then you add Sadir Mitchell, that's a 5-man rotation at tackle that feels like every one of those dudes is better than the guy you had this year. I mean, with tremendous respect to what Paris Shand did. That was a 270-pound end kicking in and playing tackle out of necessity. And you had Ahmad Bro and Dominic McKinley as true freshmen playing. It stands to reason both of those guys as second-year players will be better than they were as first-year players. Getting Jacoby and Guillory back, Sean Washington a year older, and then you add Sadir Mitchell. You are undeniably better. Your 5 there are better than whatever 5 you ran this year. And oh, by the way, you got 4 freshmen coming in that Bo Davis recruited. That's 9 defensive tackles. Last spring, you needed warm bodies. Now you got numbers and experience and talent and upside. Like, Bo Davis has done an absolutely remarkable job making over that room. I'm not telling you they've got Chad Lavallee or Kyle Williams or Claude Roten or Drake Nevis or Benny Logan or Michael Brockers. I'm not telling you they got All-Americans or first-round draft picks. I'm also not telling you they don't. Could Dom McKinley be that? Could Ahmad Bro be that? Maybe. Could Jacoby and Guillory come back for a 6-year and go bonkers? Maybe. I mean, Chad Lavallee was working at a prison. Dude came up and was unblockable in 2003. So maybe you got that. But what is not even debatable is that with a bare bone rotation at defensive tackle last year, Bo Davis turned what was your worst position group into a serviceable group that was far from a liability. Now, they weren't dominant, but they weren't a liability like we thought they could be. I think in 2025, with what I just laid out for you, they're a strength. And when you look at the rest of this portal class that's leaving LSU, always look at who are the impact guys that are leaving. Like, who are the guys that you feel like, man, it's going to be tough to replace him? Chemo, A.J. Swan, I think you're better with Michael Van Buren. Sage Ryan was a starter for you, but I still believe they're going to get a starter in the safety at safety before this is over. Suggs was a rotational guy. Pimpton didn't play. J.K. Johnson was hurt. Nathan Dybert didn't play. Jordan Allen, Xavier Atkins, Bernard Causey, Jair Brown, Demyron Johnson, Kylan Jackson. These are all backups. Shelton Sampson, C.J. Daniels, Deshaun Womack. Then Landon Ibieta and Ricky Collins. There's 2 guys. 2. Of the 19 that hit the portal, there are 2 that were impact guys for you. Or let me not even say impact guys. That were, and I'll throw Sage Ryan because he started. 3 guys that were contributors for you. As solid as C.J. Daniels was, you're better at receiver this year. That's not even debatable with what you've added in the portal. Jury's out at safety because you have got to go add another player. Like, I'm going to be steadfast. You cannot kick off the ball against Clemson August the 30th without adding another starting safety. Cannot. So jury's out, but I think you're going to be better than you would have with Sage. And then Deshaun Womack was a 5-star, but he's also a one-trick pony. He's an edge rusher. He's not a 3-down end because he can't play against the run. He's a very good edge rusher, but he's not a 3-down guy. Well, you went and added Jack Pyburn and Jamari Butler and Patrick Payton. You went and added 3 dudes that are all better than the guy you lost. It's hard not to say they're better across the board than they were. Portal is closed. Obviously, there will be a spring portal window, so we'll reassess this then. But, man, I don't know how you look at LSU's roster any other way but being better at every single spot in 25 than they were in 24. Tell me a spot where they're not as good. Tell me a spot in 2025 where they're not as good as they were in 2024. I could hear an argument for tight end because Mason Taylor was literally the best you ever had.
Mason Taylor!
But can the combination of Bauer Sharp and Tradez Green match or exceed that? Maybe. Like, is a room? Like, the whole, like, the sum of the parts may be greater than the whole in that respect? We'll see. That feels like that's about it. Incredible job, man. Hat tip Austin Thomas. Brian Kelly, Frank Wilson, for the job they've done with this portal class. Pretty incredible work over the last month. I'll remind you, it was a month ago when I sat in this chair on National Signing Day, and I told you plainly, I said, talk to me in a month. While there were a lot of people melting over Bryce Underwood and Cade Phillips and Jakeem Stewart, I sat here that day and I said, talk to me in a month. They showed fiscal responsibility by not overspending on some of those players and instead committed that money to the portal class. And they have gone gangbusters in the portal class. And you got Nussmeier back. And you signed a top 10 recruiting class. And you're not done. I said, talk to me in a month. It's been a month. How do you feel? Should feel pretty good. We're brought to you by Michelli Weighing and Measurement, Michelli.com. With more than 30 locations across a dozen different states, if you weigh or measure something at Michelli, they sell, service, rent the products that you use to weigh and measure. Go to Michelli.com, Michelli.com. Michelli, such a great local business story. I love talking about Michelli, and I've loved talking about Michelli for years because they're locally owned and operated. They've grown the right way. More than 30 different locations across 13 different states, sea to shining sea, while maintaining their local ownership. They've got the on-site option. You have equipment that can't leave or you don't want to leave. Surface plates, welding machines, pressure, temperature gauges. They can come calibrate on site. They're always looking for technicians as well. So go look at the careers page at the website. They're growing and they need people. Michelli.com, Michelli.com. For Michelli Weighing and Measurement at Michelli, we show the world what measurement can do. All right, y'all, it's after further review, and we're pumped to have you here with us as we are pushing off from the dock here in a new year in 2025. We always encourage you to get aboard. You can email us, tweet us, or text us. I'll get text the show in the 225-396-4400, 396-4400. I'll get some of your texts when we come back. We'll also let you hear a little from Darren Rizzy, who met with reporters on Monday. Will likely be the final time as the Saints head coach after a game. So we'll let you hear some of that as we continue. Just one quick note: we're not going to have Jimmy here for a little bit for Otterlocks. He'll return, and when he does, we'll love to have him back for Otterlocks. But without divulging too much, Jimmy was pretty close. There was a close connection to one of the victims of the New Year's Day tragedy in New Orleans. So Jimmy's taking some time to be with his family. And he'll be back with us when he is. And when he is, we'll certainly welcome him back. But in the meantime, if you could just wrap all those families just in love and support and prayer, join us in doing that. That'd be great. Okay. Let's knock out a quick break. It's AFR.
AFR.
It's a new year, and if you work in one of the plants, petrochemical, the refinery markets, plants up and down the river. Of course, turnaround season will be here before you know it. I want to let you know, I'm going to have the great pleasure for many months to be able to tell you about the Advanced Turnaround Group over at Action Industries. So for a couple of years now, I've been able to tell you about Action Industries. 40, now going on 43 years, since 1982, servicing the petrochemical refinery markets, which you may not know, while I've lauded Action Industries as a proud partner of LSU Athletics, a local business for 42, now 43 years. Exemplary safety record and exceptional work. They also have the Advanced Turnaround Group. This is a division of Action Industries specifically focused for turnarounds. All of those resources are specific to turnaround work. Check them out online. It's Action Industries.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to...
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh yeah, they also do interior shutters.
The Hooters College Football Bowl Pick'em Challenge presented by Yingling is underway. Make sure to check the leaderboard and your inbox to see if you qualified for the final round of picks and your shot at $1,000 cash and $200 from Hooters. Our grand prize winner will be notified January 13th. It's the Hooters College Football Bowl Pick'em Challenge presented by Yingling at 1045ESPN.com.
Ryan Smith on the text line said, "Hey, Matt, is that cashmere?" I don't know. Muse, are you a fabric guy? I don't know if this is cashmere.
I'm not a fabric guy.
I don't know. It's very soft. It's very nice, very comfortable sweater that I'm wearing here. Say, was it khaki? Brown?
Yeah, it's a
tan?
little tan. I'd go more tan.
Sand?
Sand is a good one. Yeah, it's a little light to be khaki.
Paul, what would you call this?
I think sand's a good
Sand?
description.
Yeah, I like sand.
Okay. Khakis.
I don't know what you want there. I'm sorry.
You know the commercial, the original Jake from State Farm commercial?
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
What are you wearing, Jake from State Farm? Khakis.
She sounds hideous.
It's because she's a guy.
Yeah.
Like,
that's so good, man.
They've built that whole character, which is amazing and great for him. But like the original Jake from State Farm, like they made Jake from State Farm cool.
Yeah.
Like the Jake from State Farm now is cool. Original Jake from State Farm was like the nerdy guy at the call center.
Right.
Which was funny. The new guy isn't funny.
No.
Like the new guy's hanging out with Patrick Mahomes and
Travis Kelce and like all those guys.
Derrick Henry pulling his, it's like, I don't know.
That doesn't do it for me.
I like my Jake from State Farm being a nerdy guy wearing khakis.
Yeah.
With a Midwestern accent.
Exactly.
Khakis.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Khakis.
Bring it back.
Yeah, they're definitely not doing that.
No, it's not.
No way. All right. Urban Sombrero. What does dance with what brung you mean? Is Musso dancing with his bicycle?
What? Bicycle?
Meaning that you rode your bike wherever.
Oh,
It
no.
brung you wherever you are. You
No,
said what brung you?
I have a vehicle.
Musso botched the saying earlier.
Happens to the best of us, as a matter of fact.
And it happens to you too.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Darren Rizzy met with reporters on Monday. A couple of things that that I think are going to be interesting are timeline for a hire, and he was asked about that. Does he have an idea of a timeline that Mickey Loomis and Gail Benson have right now for the new hire?
Well, the NFL has their own timetable, so there's only so much you can do with the in-person interviews and things like that before the divisional round and the wild card round, and the teams are on bye weeks, and that's like the process for that's getting about as thick as the rule book itself. So I don't think that there's going to be anything imminent. I think there has to be a process that has to play out with the number of candidates, and all that. So I don't think there's going to. I think it'll be a few-week process, probably to say the least. And so we'll see how that plays out. But I know my interview will probably take place some point later next week.
So, I think we can all agree to salute Darren Rizzy for the job he's done. But he's also not going to get the job. The scenario that could unfold that would benefit Darren Rizzy is if the Saints do get far enough down their wish list, whatever that may look like, to where you then start to have the conversation of, well, is the fifth guy on the list really better than Darren Rizzy? He won't be at the top of the list, but could there be a scenario that unfolds where the guys that you are interested in pass, take another job, and you land on Rizzy? I guess another scenario is, while it's unconventional and uncommon, there's always the possibility that you could have a placeholder candidate. Like, I know this is not a what and what comparison, and we did just have a situation where Gerard Mayo was a one and done. Like, I don't believe Gerard Mayo was a placeholder candidate. I just believe this year didn't go great, and a guy they'd rather have with ties to New England, who's a proven coach in Mike Vrabel, is available, and they're going to hire him. I just think it's very obvious. But the example I'd give you is Zach Arnett at Mississippi State. Again, not a what and what scenario. That was a tragic situation that unfolded with Mike Leach's untimely passing. Arnett was on staff. They elevated him. But even when you look back at it, the contract they gave him was structured such that it really was something they could get out from under after a year. They needed someone to be the head coach while they stabilized the program. And maybe for New Orleans, this is something similar. Like, it is going to be very difficult to get one of your top candidates to take this job. Every NFL coaching job will pay well. Every NFL coaching job is still an NFL coaching job. And every job comes with expectation. But maybe it's a scenario where you look and say, what if you get through another year, you sort out your awful cap situation where you're $79 million over the cap, you get out from under awful contracts that you have right now for aging veterans that are not performing anywhere near their contract, like Derek Carr and Cameron Jordan and unfortunately Ryan Ramczyk, who likely is never going to play again. You get in a healthier cap situation. You have a better draft pick next year. Maybe you have the opportunity to go draft your franchise quarterback, and then you're a more desirable spot next year. Like, maybe it is something where you have a placeholder situation of a coach for a year. I don't think anybody necessarily looks at it that way, but it's not a terrible way to approach it. Reset so you're more attractive to the market next year. I don't think that's likely, but it's something I think that you could do far worse if you consider. But it's after further review. Talk very quickly about LSU basketball. We haven't really done that much. I don't know that we've mentioned it at all today. Tigers lost to Vanderbilt over the weekend. Let me remind you about Parrish Construction and Roofing. ParrishBuilt.com, ParrishBuilt.com. Do business with someone you know. That's me, Terrio, Richard Tilley, Joe Morales, Trent Davis, all of our great staff over there at Parrish Construction and Roofing. We would love it if you'd give us the opportunity to earn your business. Repairs, replacements, commercial, residential, we can help with everything. Hey, look, you go to the homepage of our website, you'll see a video testimonial right there from Kim Mulkey. We've done work at Coach's house, members of her family as well. Like if Kim Mulkey trusts us, because quite honestly, Kim and Ryan Terrio have a great relationship, so she trusted us to have the opportunity, and we super served her and her family. And so we can do the same for you and your family as well. Got an issue with your roof or think you might? We'd love to give you that free, no-obligation roofing inspection. Go to the website, fill out the form on the homepage at parishbuilt.com, parishbuilt.com. Do business with someone you know. Parish Construction and Roofing. That's parishbuilt.com. LSU basketball lost to Vandy over the weekend. A very disappointing loss. Vanderbilt was the number one team in the country in taking the ball away. LSU had 11 first-half turnovers, which led to double-digit points for Vanderbilt. Tigers dug themselves a hole. They did come back to tie it on a Cam Carter 3 with about 8 minutes to play in the ball game. And then Vandy answered with a 3-ball of their own and then just expanded the lead from there. It's disappointing because when you look up and down this conference, where 13 of your games in the conference are going to be against ranked opponents, winning in the league and winning on the road in the league is going to be really difficult. So you got to be able to win winnable games at home. And Saturday was one of them, and you failed that test. Tomorrow, LSU goes and plays at Missouri. That is another gettable game. I don't want to talk about must-wins this early, but it starts to feel like how are you going to get to 8 league wins if you can't win these first 2? We'll preview that game on the show tomorrow, but a really disappointing start to conference play for LSU with that loss at home to Vanderbilt. All right, let's knock out our final break. We'll come back and wrap up next.
After further review.
2025 is here. If your business is going to be hiring in 2025, part of your 2025 business strategy should include Glow Resources, or at bare minimum, a call to Glow Resources to vet to see if they can help you. At Glow Resources, they say we're complete employer solutions. And they used to say complete employee solutions, but they changed it after the realization and understanding that at Glow, they're not a temp staffing agency. They don't want you, an employee, to call them. They'll find you. Who they want to talk to at Glow is you, the business owner, you, the HR manager, you, the hiring director, you, the operations manager. If you need to find the right people to make yourself and your business more efficient in 2025, let Glow Resources help. Check them out online at GLO. GlowResources.com, GlowResources.com. Glow Resources, complete employer solutions.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief. Our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Wall-to-wall TVs mean you'll see every touchdown in HD. Place your bets and feel the thrill of every play with our DraftKings Sportsbook. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh yeah, they also do interior shutters.
Down the stretch, we come final segment here on a Monday edition of AFR presented by Relief Windows. Big shout out Brandon and Adrian Holly, all our friends over at Relief Windows. Another year, another opportunity this year to continue to go to bat for our friends at Relief Windows. There's just nobody better. Windows, door, siding. Oh yeah, they do shutters as well. Relief Windows and reliefwindows.com. As we mentioned, Jimmy is going to be out for a bit. He'll be back when he is. But he did text me in Muse earlier. Randy McKay gave North Dakota State plus 3.5. So what time is that game, Muse? Is that later tonight?
I believe so. Yes, 6 p.m. It starts actually 5 minutes.
Okay.
Or, we'll round up 5 minutes.
Randy McKay is, as good as there is. Let's see if I can get this. There it is. Oh, it's up to 5.5. Wow. Well, if you waited,
like that,
better number.
Chalk early, dogs late.
Amen to that. So Randy's as good as they come. So North Dakota State get up to 5.5 there in the FCS playoffs right now. Jimmy will be back when he is, as we mentioned. Was at his family had a close connection to one of the victims in the tragedy on New Year's morning, and he's taking some time. And when he's back, he's back. But certainly. We'll continue to pray for him and everybody that is involved. Really good day today. Really good show. Appreciate everybody for being here. Muse, Paulie, as always. Appreciate you guys as we kick off a new year here in 2025. If you missed anything, AFR On Demand presented by Brett Golf. Podcast, YouTube, get it all. Search AFR LSU, AFR Saints. If you want the individual content for the teams, it's all there for you. All right, y'all. We'll get out of here for the night. Come back, do it again tomorrow, and we'll look forward to it. Muse, Paulie, thanks. We'll see you tomorrow at 3.
After further review.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206